Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, got to fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to what's talk raps. You're listening to what's talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
Welcome to another edition of Grapsody. I'm Will Washington, and I'm not alone here. And plus, it's December 17th. It's Saturday. Phil Lindsey's also here.
Boy, I had a good time laughing at things yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty funny day for me to just observe things and laugh from afar. We got on here and did Mercedes Watch 2022 last week. And
it continues, by the way.
Yeah, Mercedes Watch is still on view. That white Bronco is still out in the street.
Right, straight up.
Yeah, funny times, man. And I think this is going to get even funnier the closer we get to January. I have a lot to talk about with this Sasha stuff and other things.
There's a lot to talk about this week. Are you kidding me? And you know who's going to get to add in a lot in on it? It's Mr. Righteous Reg.
In the building, it's your boy, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster, media man, December. Nah, who cares? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's me. Seen a lot of great wrestling yesterday, like too much. My brain has exploded. And yeah, Sasha watch, Mercedes watch. And last night, yeesh, those videos. Yeesh. That video. Ooh, ching, chang, walla, bing, bang. Ooh, Everybody had a take, dude. Everybody had a take.
Look, we got to talk about a lot tonight. It's early ass.
Are you guys gonna ask me what video I was talking about, or are we just gonna move on?
What video are you talking about, Righteous Reg?
Well, Will Washington, Bray Wyatt. No, I'm just kidding. No, Hit Row, AJ Francis.
Yes.
He did a swanton bomb onto the apron with nobody there.
Was that? It was a swanton?
No, he called it a swanton.
Oh, no, that's not what happened.
No, it wasn't supposed to be, but that's what happened.
The swanton bomb onto the apron. Made it finessed it. No, honestly, that shit is hard. Like, that just shows like how hard. Some people make that shit look easy, but doing a dive like that's fucking hard. I mean, look what happened to R-Truth just a couple months ago, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll say this. Michael Cole was A+ on that call. The way he gets all hyped up and he's like, is he going to do this? You got to be kidding me. Well, that's why he doesn't do that move.
And the funny thing is, I've seen AJ land that dive
he
before.
Does that.
And so, yeah, there were so many intimate things that were funny about it. Just the fact that he missed it, and then as it was happening, B-Fab like jumping to hype everything up, and the Vikings trying to act like they got hit by it.
B-Fab reminded me of like, on Family Feud when somebody like has a real bad answer, but the rest of the family's like, good answer,
still gotta
good
carve
answer.
it up, yeah.
Nah, man, that's love, man. That's what you're supposed to do for your
That's
family,
love.
man.
No,
That's what you're supposed to do for your family.
So,
yeah,
but
right.
in that moment, it was just still funny because, of course, we've seen people dunking on this thing, and every time I see somebody dunking on it, and I see her in the background hyping it up, it makes it almost even funnier. But shout out to AJ, man. I hope he's all right.
It sounds like he's all right. And honestly, the funniest one I saw was the cut, and I want to make sure I give credit to who made that one, but they set it to Swerve's theme. What was it? It was NHA Thaniel _H on Twitter, and he had done the It said it to Swerve's theme, and as soon as he hits the top rope, catch a vibe.
No comment.
That's look, man. I mean, look, I feel for Hit Row in this moment right now, mainly because like narrative changed on them very, very quickly. It went from that first week they were back. There were a lot of people, tagging Swerve, talking about, oh, you shouldn't have signed with AEW. Look, your boys are back, and they're back on the big leagues. They're back on the big scene. They're really going to build up the SmackDown tag division. Some great stuff is about to happen, and I feel like
they are number one contenders. I think we should put that part in there. They are number one.
They
contenders.
are number one contenders. Don't read the SmackDown spoilers, but because they taped 2 episodes last night, which. Good thing, because they're giving the SmackDown roster Christmas off, so they had to do 2 shows last night. And it's kind of cool the way SmackDown does that, by the way, where one of the things they'll do is rather than like try to pile a bunch into 2 shows, what they'll do is just give us like a handful of long matches. Like last night only had 3 matches, but one of them was Ricochet versus Gunther that got a good amount of time.
Right.
And that's kind of the way that they do it when they do those dual tapings. Is just like, let's still stick with like a 6-match format, but let's draw it out over 2 episodes. And so that's a good thing, honestly. I think it's a good way to do it.
And that Ricochet and Gunther was,
that
was fun. One of them.
That was very good. That Chicago crowd.
I will say that was really the main reason worth watching this show, because the rest of the show wasn't that great. The tag match was good. The women's tag match was much better than I expected it to be.
Right.
And the IC title match really was the main reason to watch the show.
That was it.
Because everything else was kind of anticlimactic.
But what I was saying as far as Hit Row is concerned is, there was a report out of WrestleVotes this past week that Triple H is having a little bit of buyer's remorse on some of the returns. And if you look at the comments and all the quote tweets on that report that they put out, it's like everybody's like, yeah, Hit Row, yeah, Hit Row, Hit Row, Hit Row. Like that's all you're hearing is Hit Row. They seem to be the ones that have like disappointed the fans the most. And there's only like one of 3 things that you can do to resolve where they are right now, which is uno, release, 2, NXT, or 3, heel turn. I think that all of the above are kind of on the table. And I don't know. To me, I say combine 2 and 3. Like,
I was gonna say it's option 2 for me. Yeah.
I don't want to rush to say let anybody should lose their jobs.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should lose their job. No, I'm saying that's why I said combine 2 and 3. I think you could probably get away with sending them down for some seasoning, but then also flip them heel while you're down there. I've always said that the best baby faces are all rooted in good heels. That other than maybe Hogan, every like successful baby face in history was rooted in a solid heel run, and even then Hogan was a heel before that. But at every level, you've got to start somewhere, and I think that turning them is probably a good idea, because they were heels when they were with Swerve, but they never had a real chance to do their thing, not as his kind of dog and pony show.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for them, because I think that the issue here is they haven't had a chance to really establish what their act is without Swerve.
True.
And I think that they haven't really, because I've said this before, they haven't had any real feuds or rivalries where we have any reason to really care about them outside of, what we got from them before, or if you're fans of them from the internet stuff. And there are 2 sects of people on the internet. Sex, not sex. Sex. 2 sides. There are 2 sets of people, and there are people that want to support them, and there are people that are adamantly against them, no matter what they do.
I mean, the problem is AJ made a lot of enemies. This
is also true. So, the set that is adamantly against them, like everything that they do now is kind of confirmation bias. It's like, all right, well, they were always trash, and like now every time they mess up anything or every time something doesn't land, this is proof of it. And I just don't think WWE has done them any favors, because they haven't really given them anything or giving the fans anything to sink their teeth in. So, I think they're kind of in a bad spot. I do think that the number one contender spot is a good step forward, but they're gonna lose, man.
Right.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, I think they were brought back in a way they shouldn't have been brought back. To me, it would be like, if you got a big concert announcement and they were like, "Hey, everybody, it's the Saint Lunatics," and everybody's like, "Where's Nelly though?" Like, I didn't really ask for that.
Nah, you get Murphy Lee, bro. You get Murphy Lee, and shout out to Murphy Lee, man.
Murphy Lee, the dude with the Phantom of the Opera mask. Like, as long as those two guys are there, I'm there.
Yeah, I mean, but like, you get it.
Yeah,
that's where it was. Right. I mean, I guess I could kind of say G Unit, but even still, I guess G Unit's a good. I mean, everybody. That's the thing.
But I don't want to see Lloyd Banks though.
That was the thing of the of the 2000s, like the late 90s going into the 2000s, is that every star rapper had. They brought their boys up with them, right? Like, I mean, everybody from Eminem and D12 to Ludacris and Disturbing the Peace, everybody brought their people up. But it was always about that centerpiece act, no matter what. And I just feel like that's kind of what Hit Row was. And
I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to see Murphy Lee and Slow Down and Ali. Yes, I know the names of the Saint Lunatics, by the way. That's the guy in the mask. Is Slow Down.
Okay.
But no, I liked Murphy Lee. Like, what the hook gonna be is a record.
That was a good song. Yeah, that was a good record.
And he had the best verse on a few of the songs he was on.
But a Nelly-less Saint Lunatics can't headline.
No.
Exactly.
No.
So
they're an opening act. Solid opening act.
There you go.
Solid opening act. Hey, we got some. I want to make sure, by the way, that we get to everybody's questions this week and anybody's comments. I actually put a question out there on Day After Dynamite this week that some people have already given me some answers on. But I suppose it's more fitting for also Grapsody for me to put this question out. I'm going to rephrase it, so if you heard Day After Dynamite this week, bear with me. But I talked about video game commercials and how over the years there's been this over the last, I'd say, about 17 years, there's been a choice in popular music, those type of earworm type commercials where it has literally driven success of video games. You look at my prime example is always Gears of War, and how Gears of War was like, as it was being hyped, as it was coming out, it was kind of something that mostly just like hardcore video game fans were even aware of. But then that commercial dropped that had Mad World by Gary Jules in it. And when that commercial dropped, that set Gears of War up for mainstream success. It was like, all of a sudden people were hearing, all around me are familiar faces. And it suddenly,
that was fire.
Yeah, that commercial put Gears of War on the map, because all of a sudden it took that song, like people associate that song with one of two things, Donnie Darko or Gears of War. And so there's that, right? And then I talked about how like the stats are out right now, and like the new Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers, it sold 2.5 million copies, which is like one of the most successful Sonic games in the last 12 years. And I'm attributing that to using Queen in the commercial, the Don't Stop Me Now. I think that has gotten people's attention and made people, And so I was thinking about AEW Fight Forever. And I said that this is one of those things, Tony Khan loves spending money on music. And so I put a question out to people because I don't necessarily know what the answer is. But I said, given that it's a game that is supposed to be based around wrestling games from the early 2000s, like from 2000 to about 2003, right? They said it's supposed to be a cross between like No Mercy and SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. So I was thinking he should probably pick like a classic song from that time period to market the game around, something that's catchy, that'll stick in people's heads. Now, my first thought was Limp Bizkit My Way, right?
But I was thinking Break Stuff, actually.
Yeah, but see, but I'm like, but you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna piss off some fans. So then I'm like, What about like Annie Up MOP? I think that'd be a good one too to promote the game. We got a Humper chat. This one's from Tony P. He says, Will, your question from Dad about music used to sell Fight Forever. I would use Meth's Bring the Pain. That's a good one.
Really good
AC/DC
one.
Big Balls, Wu-Tang's Bring the Ruckus, or Jeezy's Soul Survivor.
Bring the Ruckus is pretty good too.
What would you do if you were trying like to capture the vibe of early 2000s, but something that's also catchy that would get people's attention and make them go, okay, I see what time period they're going for. Right? Like that's something you'd want to think about.
Yeah.
I saw somebody say Never Scared Bone Crusher. That's a good one from the time period too. Yeah. There's I don't know. What would you do? But I feel like if I were marketing the game, that's the thing I would immediately start looking at is what songs from the time period that are catchy, that would get people's attention and make people go, okay, I see what you're going for. Give that some thought, folks. We got some other super chats and humper chats. Let's start with who do we go with first? We got so many. All right. We're going to spend the first few minutes here on these chats, shall we? We'll start with Black Phoenix Brand. Sent a few here, so I'm going to go through all of them side by side. It says, I can't even begin to express how disrespectful it is that WWE didn't think Sasha was worth Charlotte or Becky money, especially considering a lot of Charlotte getting over was at Sasha's expense. I won't make it a race thing, but then continues on with saying, I'm sure Will mention this, but to everyone mentioning the Playboy Divas era in regards to Mandy, remember that WWF/E was a different company back then, and Jax wasn't the juggernaut that Mattel is. They have Barbie. We'll talk about Mandy here in just a little bit. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, I have thoughts about both those things. So,
yes. Oh, and then Black Phoenix Brand just sending them to us. Thank you. I always appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Sent another one. Said, I've given this a few weeks, but it's time to address this. Can we get a few minutes on how fine Jade was in her money fit for the celebration a few weeks ago? I know it's the PC era, but brothers, that outfit and the woman wearing it deserves exposition. I mean, I gave it all the words I even had at the moment, which I just tweeted Jade Cargill in all caps.
Yeah,
everybody knew what I meant the moment I tweeted that.
Yeah, that whole look, her coming out with the green fur, that was incredible.
Yes, we agree. We're in agreement.
Yeah, and that was a bodysuit, by the way. That was the funny thing was that she's believable enough that everybody was like, she like naked out here, and it's like, no, the neckline, the chain was the separating piece. It was a bodysuit, but
and shout out to Sandy. I'm sure Sandy designed that for her because she.
She did. She tagged her in it, and Sandra Gray designed that. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got some others here. We will go with. Going to start at the beginning. Van Twinblade says, sitting in rural care because my antigen test popped. Oh, hope it was a false positive because I really don't want to miss the show tomorrow.
Oh no,
it's going around. It's COVID did not go away for certain. And it's still
be
here.
Careful out there.
Yeah.
If you feel the need to wear a mask, it's no shame in continuing to wear a mask if you feel the need to.
No shame.
Nah, but like also everything else is bad. I mentioned on Twitter that my daughter had strep this week,
right?
And so she was home 2 days, and luckily I sent her in get some antibiotics. Turns out she's allergic to penicillin, like your boy, and so she like swelled up and had a rash all over, and I'm like, okay, no more penicillin for you, so I had to do Z-Pack. But the interesting thing to me is that I just read that like 2 kids died from strep this week in Denver. In Denver, right? So
like,
yeah, flu is back in effect. It's definitely 6th season.
Right.
6th season. So take care of yourselves and each other.
Christmas is gonna be fucking bad. Everybody's gonna go and try to hang out with their family, spread this shit. Ugh.
Yeah.
Spread the love.
Come on, Phil.
I know.
Silly.
Orion Ben 666 says they prolonged Bray but killed the Zaya mystery in an hour.
What? So wait a minute. What was this? So they put this at the end of this match and they drew attention to it, and then they did the reveal on the internet.
On the internet, yeah.
What was the point of that? I'm really, I don't know. I mean, if this gets Zaya on TV more, great. I initially thought it was Alba Fire because all the interviews I've seen with Damage Control, they've been saying from jump that Alba was supposed to be in Damage Control. Like in the initial pitches for it, she was in all of them. So I assumed in that moment when Hooded Person came up, I was like, oh, it's just Alba. And then when I looked at it, I was like, oh, no, it's definitely not Alba.
What gave that away?
The shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, the shoes.
It was the shoes.
It was the shoes. Yeah. Shout out to Xia Li.
I do think it was. I do think it's
cool
funny
shoes.
that all the sleuths noticed it was Xia Li and how they picked up on it being Xia Li.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, I don't get the reveal only online thing. Just do this on TV. That was 13 seconds.
I didn't understand that. That was an odd choice. But how many heel women are they gonna link to Damage Control now, and then just kind of just make it a random thing? Like we've got Nikki at this point. We've got Zaya. Like what are we doing, man?
Oh yeah, Fear and Loathing in NYC says. How soon till Uncle Howdy takes off the mask and it's Vince saying, "It was me, Dupree. It was me all along." We gotta talk about Vince. That's a story that we gotta talk about this week.
Oh my God, busy ass week, man.
It's been a busy ass week. Yes, we do. Because
that's real.
Hold on, it's important, and we should all give our predictions on how the Vince story plays out.
Totally.
Uriel says, just showing some support, guys. Finding your podcast has been the highlight of my year. Y'all kill it, and great work on the Willow interview. Shout out Willow Nightingale. She's been all over this week. She did AEW Unrestricted. Then right after that, our podcast with her drops yesterday. We did an interview. She was just a delight to have on the show. And then tomorrow she's going to be on AEW with RJ City. So it's been a busy week for her. She had a great match with Trish Adora last week at on the 0 hour of Final Battle.
Yep.
So good for her.
Yeah, Final Battle happened after our show. Jeez,
Yeah,
it did happen.
Man.
It was a pretty strong week for tag team wrestling.
Yeah,
it was
super strong.
And I have a feeling that we'll be seeing a lot more of Willow on TV, because I couldn't help but notice that Ruby Soho got her ass beat by the Ty J. Ty J. And man, she really could have used somebody in her corner there. Maybe somebody that Ruby just helped 2 weeks ago when that other person had a match against Anna Jay. Almost like we're about to see Ruby and Willow versus Ty J.
Ruby, Willow.
Remix.
That would actually be really good. So thank you for
AEW doesn't do that's a WWE thing, right? To combine. Do they do that anymore? Combine two wrestlers' entrance musics together? Remember that used to be a thing?
Pretty dope mashup of MJF and Jericho's at one point.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I remember that.
right.
They've done it.
That's right.
I mean, I will say WWE has been hit or miss on that, right? Because there were some that were just like, "What are you doing? That's not how you remix themes." Like I remember,
they just spliced their Pro Tools and just put them together. No, it's not supposed to be like that.
They just slam it. They're not a DJ that knows how to blend. They just slam the next record on.
Yeah,
and they do that a lot, and it's just it doesn't sound good. Like when they used to do it with Asuka and Kyrie's before they got like a group theme, it sounded so bad.
The Booker T and RVD was one that was really bad bad too. A famous one before they decided to just have a band do the whole song over was that one week where they had Big Show and Chris Jericho, and it was just like big, 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 break the walls, big down, and like the whole thing was just awful.
Awful. The only thing, but that's given us Matthew on the Cultaholic podcast saying that all the time when he's had this big question. He does the big, 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 big
Right.
question. Shout out to Matthew Bass.
Yeah, no, that was that probably only got used like once or twice, but it has stuck with me forever. Them just that
Terrible.
awful chop up of Big Show and Chris Jericho.
Right.
Terrible.
So bad.
And then they finally just had the song just redone. It's hit or miss because also now I'm thinking about it, Gold Dust and Cody was also really bad too.
Yeah, that was awful
bad
as well.
You need a DJ. That's what you need for
That's
these
it.
things.
Yes,
you
you-
need somebody
yes,
who
you
recognizes that your tempos need to match, and because
Not
like
just slam.
Edge and Orton was decent, but that's about the only one that I can remember.
Yeah. Remember they used to do that thing for Corbin where they used to play that royal music and then it just cut back to his regular music. I'm like, but why? Just why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't sound good. Like, what is
It doesn't.
Yeah. Let's see. Mets fan for life says, I was thinking the Mox versus Sammy match may have been because Mox has been booed recently. What do you guys think? I don't think so. Because I don't think they care. I think, Mox has only been booed in situations where he's supposed to. Because, Mox got booed against CM Punk at All Out, but I don't think they expected anything different.
He went into that basically kind of working heel for that match.
Yeah, and he walked into the match with MJF in Newark. He was prepared to be booed for that. He knew what was going on here.
The other one is Tanahashi. You're going to get booed when you're standing next
Regardless.
to like one of the greatest baby faces ever.
And he
Yeah.
wants to play heel against Tanahashi because it's fucking Tanahashi.
Yeah, no. Moxley's walked into these situations knowing what's up, and he knew what he was doing there. I don't think there was any. As a matter of fact, if anything, considering that Moxley was supposed to turn heel a year ago and didn't get to, I feel like if anything, Moxley would probably look for those scenarios to like, hey, how can I get to play heel like I was trying to last
And
year?
he's supposed to be heel in the Hangman feud, so
Yeah, look,
they're gonna heel it up more with them.
I think one of the great things, and this goes back to people like, oh, who's the baby face in this program? I'm so confused by this program. Why are they fighting? I think one of the great things about this is Mox kind of thrives when he gets booed. I've said it before that he's very good at playing both sides, and so I think he's fine. I think that match last night wasn't because he's getting booed. I think it was just a great way to forward the Garcia stuff. And that nasty, just disgusting thing Jericho said of, "Oh, this is your elder," like, disgusting.
Gross.
Come on, Jericho. And Garcia, come on, fight back. I saw you standing. You didn't like that. You didn't like how he cut you off. Come on, fight back.
Let's see. Coffee Black says, shout out, fellas. Uncle Howdy came out looking like the Power Rangers villain of the week. And Van Twinblade says, what do you mean Hogan was always a heel?
Straight up.
CBD's Nuts says, happy Saturday, boys. Had a crappy week, got laid off, but life goes on. What was your favorite moment this week? Aside from Jericho losing, of course. Loved that for Action Andretti. Love y'all. I mean, that's up there for one of my moments of the week.
Yeah. It probably Action Andretti. That was a great moment for him. I will say, because, like I said, this was a big week for tag team wrestling. Seeing Leo team up with a guy in Yo who is a expert at tag team wrestling at this point, multiple times junior tag team league winner, and winning his first tag league trophy was great. And it's a great.
And the finals against Bay and Ace Austin, like, come on, bro.
Yeah, Bullet Club was cooking in that tag league. I actually thought Bay and Ace were gonna win at one point, but it was a good win for Leo. Happy for him. He's going to get his moment at Wrestle Kingdom. He and Yo are going to challenge for the tag championship.
Wrestle Kingdom is crazy, bro.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I want to throw a shout out really quick to CBD's Nuts. The life will go on. I know the layoff feeling all too well, and it sucks. But I mean, I don't know. It's a crappy time for that. So I feel you, and I hope everything works out on that. Talking about Wrestle Kingdom for a second, I've never seen people go harder on your boy. And I'm specifically talking about Phil's boy, which is Carl Anderson, who are all saying that I mean, look, what did they calling it a 1.5 star match? They said the worst performance of the year at Wrestle. It's basically he did retain the Never Openweight Championship, and now he's going on to be at Wrestle Kingdom. But people are like, man, if that Carl Anderson is who's showing up at Wrestle Kingdom, I don't want it.
Nah, Bright Light Sheen Gun is going to show up in the Dome, buddy.
Yeah, it's the Dome, baby. Come on.
Listen, man. I sat and I watched the chat last week when I predicted that this man would wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, and I saw a lot of people saying, "No, Phil's bugging," all this other stuff.
I thought you was kind of crazy myself,
man.
honestly.
Listen,
I thought we already knew that though. That was the thing because I was talking about it like
it was reported.
Yeah, I thought the Fightful Select they reported that, so I was talking about it like it was a foregone conclusion, and I was like, yeah, he's gonna be at Wrestle Kingdom.
I definitely think that he's gonna have a better showing at Wrestle Kingdom. But here's the thing: him coming in half-assing it at that match is kind of the point. He's
Part
the
of the
bad
story.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to come and have this great 5-star match and get you to like him
Because he doesn't care. He's rich.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of what he's doing in the character is that he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So. No, you're not supposed to like it. You're supposed to boo him. You're supposed to want Tama Tonga to beat him and make him go away.
Exactly. So is this like the most companies? Because there's going to be Impact representation. There's going to be WWE, AEW, like Stardom. All the companies are pretty much represented. This is the real Forbidden Door. Here we go. Wrestle Kingdom.
This show is the Forbidden Door.
It's crazy.
And by the way, before I forget this, shout out to Rocky Romero because I don't think he has properly gotten his flowers for all of the people that he's helping to get on this Wrestle Kingdom card. And I heard a story where he is the guy that initiated the pitch for Forbidden Door. I don't know if a lot of people know that.
Busy man. Busy
So,
man.
yeah, shout out to Rocky Romero.
I love
Give him
Rocky.
his flowers.
He's always been really kind to me. Every time he see me in a crowd, he's always like, "Hey, Will."
Yeah, man. Hey, expect to see Rocky in a Grapsody interview someday.
Oh, yeah,
I'm going to attempt to make that happen.
He's already told me he'd do it. So
I think that's
it's on
why-
us to set that up.
I think that's why so many deals happen because he's like such a nice, humble
He's great.
guy that like you're gonna be like, yeah, I agree, Rocky. Let's do it. What do you want to do? You know,
Yeah.
and it's New Japan also on top of it. So.
Yeah, shout out to Danny Limelight as well. I thought that was one of the funniest things about that interview we did with Danny, and he's just like, yeah, fuck Rocky. And I'm like, yeah, but who hates Rocky? No,
Yeah,
he hates Rocky.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Yeah, but that was, by the way, we dropped 2 interviews this week because we had an interview with Danny Limelight as well. Got some good details. The man was wilding, as he said, and that led to his dismissal from AEW. But at the end of the day, he's got some bigger goals, and we talked about all of that. So,
Yeah, shout out on a big win as well. Your new champion.
That's right.
Yeah, I like Danny a lot.
Me too.
Yep. So yeah, and we've got a couple more interviews coming up because we talked to EJ and Duca of MLW. And
Very fun interview. Very positive. Also like cocky in a good way. Like just ready to take on the world. EJ. That's a great interview when that comes out. You guys check it out.
Yep. And we talked to I guess indie wrestling legend and commentator extraordinaire Veda Scott. We talked to her as well. So yeah, we're talking to people. And we've got some more coming up. I think not this coming week, but I think week after there's some good stuff. So we'll be doing it. We'll be doing
Some really good stuff, possibly.
Yeah, we closing this year out, man. You know, working. The boys is working.
We're getting John Cena on December 30th. No, I'm kidding.
Coffee Black says Murphy Lee is an NBA Street Volume 2 legend.
He absolutely is.
Straight up.
Nah, man.
I miss that
I'm not-
EA Big era, man. Like EA Big was a brand, and they just dropped it all. I don't understand.
EA
like,
dropped off a cliff in general, though.
Yeah, but that specific brand, EA Big, they had the Def Jam games. They had SSX. They had NBA Street. NFL Street was kind of whack, but NBA Street, every volume of NBA Street was dope. And I was a big SSX guy. Sometimes when I'm bored because it's backwards compatible, I do sometimes just throw on SSX3. Why not? That game was fantastic.
Classic.
It's a classic, yeah.
I was
right
more
up there with Cool Borders.
I was gonna say I was more of a Cool Borders fan because PlayStation.
Cool Borders.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, the SSX
Here we
was
go.
like, see, I loved Cool Borders, but the second SSX dropped, it was like just a game changer. So I never played the first one, but I played Tricky, and of course that had Run DMC laced all throughout.
Yeah, and it had, what's the record? Play It Loud.
That was SSX3 for sure.
Fire.
So Tricky though had because your commentator of SSX Tricky was Rozelle, right? So you had his beatboxing all throughout the game. Like he just do commentary. You hit a trick and he just be boom, boom, and like all this.
They don't make them like they used to. Rozelle randomly of the commentator in this game. Come on, man.
Crazy time.
I know he was your only commentator. You hit a trick, and then all of a sudden Rozelle would just pop in and tell you how great your trick was, or tell you it sucked. And
Shout out to Rozelle. Nobody's had him on. I've been listening to a lot of hip hop podcasts, and nobody's had Rozelle on. I want to hear about Rozelle, man. All I know, bad mother. Rozelle was crazy.
You're absolutely right. Like he is somebody I want to hear from.
He's elusive, man. That's a great story. I want to hear about how he got on SSS Tricky randomly.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other funnier jokes this year was when people were saying the stuff off of not the 21 Savage Drake album, the Drake album before that with all of the dance music on it, that it sounded like SSX music. And once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. And I'm like, maybe that's why I enjoy some of this music so much, because I'm like, this reminds me of just sitting up at like midnight playing SSX.
Takes you back.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it was. No, I still play it to this day. For whatever reason, SSX3 though specifically because I had the reset, and once you got used to the reset, you couldn't play any of the others again. But yeah, I still when I get bored, I'm just like I'm just throwing SSX3. And
did you ever beat
play
that
for like
Guardians
20
game?
minutes.
I don't know why that randomly popped in my brain because I'm thinking video games.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah.
No, I actually didn't.
Yeah, I stayed up late one night and finished it. Really good game.
Okay. Yeah, I have it. I just have never beaten it.
It's on Game Pass for people if you have Xbox.
Oh man, damn it! See, that's why I can't buy games anymore because
I also bought it. I got caught by that as well.
I bought it, and yeah, of course it's in Game Pass.
Actually, now I think about it, I don't think I bought it. I think I got it as a gift. Yeah, I did.
I just finished Deathloop recently. That game is really good for a couple of reasons. One, if you just want a game with the rare black protagonist and antagonist, Deathloop's a good one for you. But on top of that, it's just really creative and inventive. I haven't played anything like it. Like I get
what kind of a game is it?
It's a first-person shooter that's kind of like Groundhog Day in video game form, where you basically are stuck in the same scenario over and over and over. And
Deathloop.
Yeah, but every time you die and restart just this one portion. But as you progress, you learn more things about the scenario, and so it's still a really deep game, and there's still a lot happening. But every single time you go through the loop, it's a little bit different each time, just because you as the player know more than you knew last time. This is the same stage though. You wake up right back at that original point. And you got to play through this stage again, but this time you're like, okay, I don't have to go through this door because I already know what's through this. I'm gonna go this way this time, or like I know the code to unlock this door this time, so therefore I can go this way. And the goal by the end of the game is to officially break the loop. Phenomenal game. I love Deathloop.
Nice.
And
speaking of black video game protagonists, did you guys see that clip of Michael J. White dressed as Blade? And
yes,
that was fire. I was like, wait a minute, this man is 55 years old. This guy does not look like he's in his 50s at all. He looks amazing.
He's a beast for sure.
He is a beast. I love Michael J. White, honestly. Like I was a big Spawn fan in the 90s, and then when the movie hit and Michael J. White, and as a matter of fact, I just saw. Look, I'm also a really, really big Black Dynamite fan.
Yes, yes,
totally
classic.
And I saw this the other day. I forgot who posted it. I'm not giving right credit because I just saved it. But It was a take on Mandy Rose, but it said, "I'm declaring war on everybody who sells nudes to the community." Mandy Rose, Black Dynamite. I sell nudes to the community.
Really good.
That's great. Yeah, no, somebody killed it. That's crazy.
Okay, we got to talk about a couple things. First off, I want to talk about Vince. I know that's a rare thing, but we got to talk about Vince. Wall Street
This
Journal.
was over.
It's never over, ever.
I don't think it's over.
It's not over.
Wall Street Journal, of course, published a new report that had a lot of stuff in it. It talked about how there's, of course, new allegations. And the interesting thing about the allegations is they're very similar to previous allegations, which to a lot of people would say a pattern of behavior with Vince McMahon, and that I'll let you decide if what you feel on that. The other thing that came out of that from the wrestling side of things was that people close to Vince are of the belief that he's planning to come back, that he's told people he's planning to come back. Fightful Select dropped a story, talked to about a dozen WWE talent, and there's a general feeling of, please no. But the one thing that I think a lot of people are afraid of in this regard is that, because, we've heard from people who have said, if Vince returns, I'm not wrestling again. I mean, you're under contract, you're going to have to.
No, yeah. You'll be wrestling, buddy.
Totally.
My feeling on this, again, it's just a hunch. I hope I'm wrong. But I'll start with the facts. The fact is, if Vince McMahon decides to return, you guys watched Married with Children, I'm sure. Do you guys remember when Al went and found Ironhead Haynes, who could answer all the questions of men, and he asked, "What are we supposed to do about women?" And Ironhead Haynes says, "I have a song for this." And he pulls out his guitar and strums, and he goes, "Nothing." And then puts the guitar away. As far as what you can do about Vince, the answer is nothing. Because Vince McMahon,
WWE is his. That's his.
The fact is, WWE is still his.
That's his.
If he wanted, the only thing that can be done as far as Vince is concerned is, I guess, two things. One, convince him not to, or two, poison a drink. But as far as what you can do,
Wait a minute.
as far as what can be done about bringing back Vince McMahon, the answer is it's not much. If he ultimately decides to return, there's two problems. Because they're like, well, it would tank the stock. The board wouldn't allow that. Vince has 80% voting power, so
he's the board.
He is the board. If the board all votes no and Vince votes yes, that's a yes. He returns. So good luck with that. And it's well, the stockholders won't allow that. Vince is majority stockholder. And if he... Look, you fully underestimate the egos of white billionaires who don't care whether or not they tank the stock if it is about them returning. Now,
you've been saying it all week on Twitter.
That is
Yes.
that is definitely a white billionaire thing. I definitely picture him somewhere having a glass of water or something, or finishing golf, and I think I'm gonna go back to work. And it's nah, Vince, I don't think you can. Nah, I'm a little bored. I think I'm gonna go back to work.
I know, but it doesn't work like that. He's like, no, I think it does work like that.
Look, man, WrestleMania season starting. That's my thing. That's my baby. I'm going back to work. What are y'all talking about?
yeah. So again, there's very little that could be done. And the thing is, I can see I don't even think it's a boredom thing. I think it's Vince looking at what's coming up for WrestleMania, and knowing that as far as I think he was willing to like, look, I could let SummerSlam go, I could let Survivor Series go, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff.
WrestleMania is his thing,
but like
it's
WrestleMania, yeah, it's like WrestleMania, and it's a WrestleMania that's gonna have The Rock. It's a WrestleMania that's gonna have John Cena. It's a WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Come on,
like these guys don't exist without me.
Right.
And I think the idea.
Roman, all his golden boys are going to be there.
Like, I can't see it not burning him up just a little bit of like, look, I at least need to book WrestleMania season and coming back for that. But I can't see him. I mean, the thing is, if he decided to tomorrow, just like, look, I'm coming back and I'm going to book Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. Sorry, Hunter.
What are you going to do?
Sorry, Paul. That's what's it's gonna happen. Like that's the thing. Is if he decides it, it happens. And that is my only real worry here is that if he could be convinced not to, and I'm like he was convinced to step down because, and in hindsight, I guess that's what the Wall Street Journal article talked about, that he's told people close to him that he thought he could have weathered the storm and that resigning was a mistake.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I have no interest in Vince coming back, just based off where
zero.
the product is. The product is so much better without him.
A million times.
They don't need him anymore. I think it's time to move on and allow some new blood to run the company. I have no interest in him coming back, but can't fight the tide, buddy. I would not be surprised if he ends up back.
I mean, look, and the thing is, I saw somebody on Twitter, and sorry if I'm stealing credit for your joke, but they're like, Vince saw the rumor of Gunther versus Brock Lesnar and was like, Brock versus who?
For what?
Get Paul on the phone. Get him on the phone right now. Get him on the phone.
For what title? What?
I'm convinced at this moment that Vince McMahon is coming back to the WWE. There's nothing that anybody could tell me that's not going to happen. Vince McMahon will be back in that gorilla position by Royal Rumble.
So, like I said, because I see somebody in the chat saying it will take more than him deciding to do it again. He needs to get voted back in. He has 80% of the vote. He's the vote. If he votes yes, he gets in. That's it.
Coming back. Oh, we disagree. I don't care.
No, listen, man. That's where they got that line for it, man. We are the bar, bro. He is the bar. Like he is the vote, buddy. It's not if he wants to come back, he's coming back.
You're gonna hear no chance. That's just playing a constant loop, like his song.
Yeah, I could just see him watching television and seeing all the changes, and he's like, "What is this? Like, what is this? Who is this Tozawa kid? Where's my ninja? Like, where? What is this? Like,
I do like these Lacey Evans bits though. Those are pretty good. They could continue that.
Yeah, no, I bet. Look, I hope not. Like for real, I truly hope not. Like. Reading the allegations this week, and again, there's new allegations from 2011 that are very similar to the ones from 2006, and
it's almost like the same story.
Yeah, well, it's straight up like it's clear that there's pattern behavior to me,
right?
And I think that look, Hunter's better at this right now. I think that's not to say that there aren't things that I think Vince wasn't good at, right? I think Vince knew how to make a moment. That's just a fact. I think that he did. And I'm still kind of waiting on Hunter to have that. But again, I think he's building to that. I think Hunter is building to his moment that he hasn't quite had yet. And that's why it's like when people are like, "Hey, Hunter Booker of the Year," and I'm like, "Give it time." He's still a work in progress. I'm not willing to even grade Hunter yet as a Booker because I still feel like he's got to. I was willing to give Hunter an entire year because it's not like he got to start a program from scratch here. Triple H essentially had to pick up the continuity of the previous program and keep it going.
Right.
And so
now he always has this Vince shit lingering over him. Like you can't it's a lot of pressure on the guy at this point. Not saying that makes it okay, but I'm saying like it's a different what Triple H is doing compared to. You can't really say he's Booker a year or grade him off of trying to fix the. It's like when Obama came in after George Bush, and they were just like, "Why did you do this to the economy and start war?" He's like, "Yo, I'm just cleaning up what that fool did."
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
Like it's gonna take some time. And so Joel Wood says it's not that easy. WWE is not a private company, so Vince can't just decide to come back tomorrow. The amount of litigation and stock taking that would come out of this would cripple that company.
I don't know.
Are you saying that the SCC won't let me be me on MTV?
Didn't think we would get an Eminem bar from Phil on this podcast.
Skibbity-doo.
And again, we're also talking about the because Vince had multiple roles, of course. We're talking about the chairman role. We're also talking about the head of creative specifically role. There's a lot of various different roles that he played here. And I'm strictly talking about putting himself back in creative.
The bro could just start from home sending his notes in. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm back, but
I wouldn't be surprised if he's already sending his notes from home.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so.
Oh, they're giving you shit for quoting Eminem, by the way.
Listen, it was in the moment. Sometimes you gotta get a joke off, man. Look, quoting things in hope of getting a joke off is just, come on.
You got it.
Yes, but again, I don't know. I'm hoping not, but also like WrestleMania without Vince sounds really interesting because
are you saying it seems so empty without me?
Oh, come on.
Because I'm looking forward to WrestleMania without Vince. I'm looking forward to seeing, again, I talked about, Hunter hasn't quite had a moment yet. And I feel like, I guess the end of Survivor Series was about the closest to a moment he's had. But you know what I mean by those Vince moments. That like Vince is a moment maker, and that was his thing. And I'm ready for Hunter to have that. I think WrestleMania could have that.
It could.
Yeah, there has to be a willingness to have it, of course, because a lot of moments tend to revolve around like crowning a new champion. I think that's a big piece of why Hunter hasn't necessarily had his true moment yet. Like he hasn't gotten to make somebody yet because a lot of that he did a lot of that in NXT, but it's just a different scale when we're doing it on the main roster.
Yeah, but a lot of the big projects have been leftover Vince projects that he's trying to, finesse and either correct or, set on a different trajectory. And some of it has worked. Listen, I have given some of the Triple H stuff the thumbs down, but if he manages to fix Asuka and make Asuka serious again, listen, all will be forgiven. Well, not all. I won't say all. But a lot of stuff will be forgiven because I'm a big Asuka fan, and a lot of stuff that they're doing with Asuka is great.
I mean, I do believe Asuka's been better under Hunter regardless. I think that, I love Asuka equally, right? But I do feel like I was never a fan of... when people are like, oh, Asuka's such a national treasure. Look how funny she is. She's Asian R-Truth. And I'm just thinking like, that's not what I want as far as she's concerned. Because everybody was like, especially through the pandemic stuff. They're like, wow, she's so funny. And I'm like, but did you see what she was able to do in NXT? Like, this is not the...
Yeah. I enjoy funny Asuka, but I prefer serious Asuka.
I enjoy funny Asuka the way I enjoy... Steve Austin when he's funny, right? And that like Steve Austin could be funny, but when it came time, Steve Austin kicked the shit out of people. And being funny wasn't the primary thing. It wasn't just there to make Vince chuckle. But I felt like Asuka for a while became like we just want to make Vince. She just became a punchline. She just became we want to make Vince laugh.
It's the Mox line. Never let anybody there know you can be funny because then that's all they'll allow you to be. And we've seen Mox be funny in AEW, but he has a very defined character that is not centered around comedy. And I think that Asuka should be the same way. It's cool to know that Asuka can be funny, but I don't think that should be her defining character trait.
I don't want it to be. That's
I
my
mean,
issue.
because I still think one of the funniest things Asuka's done is coming out after she won the NXT Championship, retained the NXT Championship, and somebody was like, "But Ember Moon," and she's just like, "Ember, who? She working?"
Yeah, like I think honestly, the best comedy in wrestling to me is still the comedy that's in the wrestling, and not necessarily as a side thing to wrestling. So that's me anyway. But we'll talk about that. Joel Wood says, "Will, you're all about percentages." I am. What is the percentage you think Vince is back in his previous role by Mania? I'm at like 40%. I still don't think it's terribly likely. But I'm just more like, I'm gonna steal a point from Meltzer here. Meltzer does not believe it's a coincidence that new allegations came out around the same time that the news came out that Vince is talking about returning, almost as if somebody in the company doesn't want him returning and maybe was like, hey, look at this other stuff too. Like,
That's crazy.
like, hey, let's keep these investigations going, because the longer we can keep him out, the better.
Nuts. Who could do that? Who would do that?
Who would do such a thing?
I mean, I'll be straight up. I have talked to two wrestlers who believe it's Hunter. Like, straight up. Absolutely. I am not saying it is. I'm not saying that at all. But
But if anybody was to, anybody has leverage to.
Yo, Triple
Hey,
H
check out
talking
this
about the
note.
allegations in an interview or something like, yeah, I don't know what this is. Somebody did this.
Yeah, somebody did this. Somebody did this. This is
Somebody
crazy.
did this, bro.
Somebody sending out some crazy emails. I don't know who did it. I don't know who done it.
like, they're at Thanksgiving, like, Dad, can you believe what this Wall Street Journal article's talking about? Can you believe? That's crazy. Crazy, man.
But yeah,
Who would send those out?
do not bring Vince McMahon back. That's the moral of the story. Leave that
Absolutely
old man
not.
at home. He's nasty as hell. That's where we're landing. He's a nasty, nasty man that needs to be in a retirement home. Leave him there. Don't let him come back. All the morale's gonna go to the shitter so fast if you bring this man back.
Nah, man. Now I cannot unthink of Triple H being the guy that's leaking this. That is
Right?
That's very funny. Tonight,
I know. Honestly, I've had this scenario playing out in my head that just sitting at home after losing NXT and basically just being given that office job. Like, nah, fuck that guy. That guy's gotten away with so much.
Straight up.
He's gotten away with so much.
He's gotten away with so much. He's gotten away with so much.
Nah.
Maybe he doesn't get to get away with it.
Might have to drop a dime. I don't know, man.
Like,
saying.
what? He fired all my guys. He fired all my NXT guys that I spent years working on. He fired Regal. He fired all my people.
Nah, I don't like that.
And he bringing his homie back. He gonna come back at the same day as Regal. They're gonna be back in WWE at the same time. Both putting their little WWE badge on the thing at the same time. Vince and Regal. Woo, Hunter's gonna be pissed.
No, I don't like that. Might have to drop a dime.
Yeah. Air World Order says we might see The Rock versus James Gunn instead of The Rock versus Roman Reigns at Mania. I mean, look, there's a lot of DC stuff going down this week. We now know that Patty Jenkins is out of Wonder Woman, and
We know that The Rock was lying on his books.
but now we know that
Cooking books.
that Henry Cavill is out of Superman.
Man, I feel bad for Henry, man. He was happy about coming back, and
Yep.
they
But
closed
I
that door on him right away.
I get where James Gunn is coming from. Of like, I got to reboot this universe. The shit stinks.
I would
And,
I would
like,
start from scratch. Henry
Yeah.
Cavill has like a little something on him that people are gonna keep associating with it if they don't drop him.
Yeah, he still got the Snyder stench on him.
Yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah, and then James Gunn
and-
is like, look, I got an opportunity to reboot this whole thing and make it what people have been asking for.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to just do it. And it may take some starting over. I hope he does keep some elements. Like, I think he could probably boot the universe he's looking for out of the Batman.
I mean, he's gonna keep elements they like Peacemaker ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean it's his. Like he's not getting rid of
Ain't going nowhere. But I understand wanting to cast a younger Superman and starting from scratch. You were gonna have a hard time doing that and trying to keep around the same cast. So I get it. I just think that giving this guy hope that he was gonna come back and he was super excited about it, and then he gets back and it's like, nah, we don't really need you. It's like, dang. But if that report is true and we will no longer get Momoa as Aquaman and we might get him as Lobo, do it. Come on, man. Get this guy on a motorcycle with white paint and come on, man. He's the ultimate dude, bro. Like he should be Lobo.
Problem is, like, Aquaman 2 still hasn't dropped. Like, they still have all this content that they haven't put out yet. And, they still haven't dropped that Flash movie that's going to be a disaster. Yeah, when does Aquaman 2 come out? That movie comes out.
I keep forgetting that Flash movie is coming.
Yeah, Aquaman 2 don't come out till next Christmas. We're still We're still a year off from that movie they filmed like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I like the idea of him making all these phone calls and like I don't know if you guys have seen American Gangster and like the montage when Russell Crowe's character is arresting everybody over Amazing Grace. I just keep thinking of Amazing Grace and all these people are getting the phone calls and the last person that he's waiting to call is my man, this the lead actor of Flash. Like, all right, Ezra, man, this is all I've been leading to you, man. You knew this time was coming.
Oh, man. I don't know how he's still attached to that. It's crazy.
Wild, man. The fact that they're still going forward with this movie just tells you how much money they spent. And they're like, look, y'all are getting this Flash movie. We spent a lot of money. We did a lot of reshoots. Y'all are getting this movie. I don't care what he did in Hawaii. Y'all are getting this movie.
Do not care. Hated to love it. Underdogs on top. Nasty shit.
But we're not getting the Batgirl movie that they filmed.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Look, we can throw that $2 million away, but this $4 million we paid for Flash. No, nah, bro. This movie is happening, bro.
I would have sent that shit straight to Tubi.
Like that Batgirl movie is they finished it, right? Like they filmed it in full, and it's just never going to see the light of day.
Imagine just having the footage and being like, "Nah, we're not going to release the footage."
Nah, we putting that on. Yo, Will, have you seen Tubi movies? You've never seen a Tubi movie. It is an experience, bro.
Not to go watch Tubi movies. There's some movies that are filmed with the iPhone 8. Like that's how they film the whole movie.
The cheapest movies with the worst acting. I don't know how these movies.
I take that back. I'll tell you what. I watched one because my friend was in it. And I'm not gonna say which one, but my friend is in a Tubi movie. It's real bad. I watched one. And
they're horrible.
They're awful.
It like the framing, everything about it looks cheap, looks real awful. Bad. But
they just have a button that you could just submit a movie, any movie that you like. Submit a whole movie right here. We'll take it. It's crazy out there.
Yeah, I'm picturing exactly the one.
They'll make a movie out of anything.
Yes. Let's see. CBD's Nuts said, I feel like Song 2 by Blur would give nostalgic vibes for Fight Forever. But yeah, like Kylie said, nothing Creed, LMAO.
Woohoo! Yeah, that could work too. I like that.
Yeah, all right. Well, I didn't know what song that was, but I that's one of those that's one of those songs that I probably have heard a million times, could have never identified it if you had asked me.
I lose that trivia question, buddy.
Yeah.
Name that tune. That tune's playing. I'm sitting there the whole time like.
I used to do a 90s cover band thing in Bakersfield, so there's a lot that are just there in my brain. So
I feel like every episode we get something cool about Reg.
Yeah,
I've been doing a lot.
Yeah, there's some prequel about all of our lives before Grapsody existed, and like how different everything was.
Now it's just all podcasting all the time.
Yeah. Let's see. Tim Gordon asked, "Can Triple H book?
I can't believe it.
Can Triple H book a SmackDown Women's Title match without doing a gauntlet or multi-person match?"
No.
Well, he's in a tough spot with SmackDown. He's doing the multi-women matches because he's trying to show everybody he has on the roster and give people shine because they don't have a big name there. And that's why I thought it was absurd, sir, when I saw someone say that No, the company hasn't had a problem since Sasha left. Fam, SmackDown has had a definite problem since this woman left.
Awful.
Like, what are you talking about?
Terrible.
And I mean, it's great that people like Liv and Shotzi and Raquel are getting a moment to shine, but I feel like that's why we keep getting all of these segments with a lot of women crammed in, because they're just throwing things at the wall and hoping something works. And a lot of this stuff is not necessarily catching on, and that's kind of the problem.
Well, like it's like they're also building up Raquel toward
Rumble.
Toward Ronda, but I don't feel like there's a lot of stuff that's just like not over, and we're about to talk about one of them in a sec. But let's see. Ricardo says I'd use "Crush 'Em" by Megadeth. Again, one I don't know, but I bet you I would recognize the tune. Van Twinblade says, we can't use DMX, the homophobia won't fly. Are you kidding me? You could use X Gon Give It To You. There's a lot of tracks by DMX that would hit.
No, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, absolutely not condoning homophobia, but there are a lot of X records that you could play that don't have homophobia in it.
And all of these we're literally just talking about the hook. And he said, doesn't fit the time period, but Jay-Z run this town. Yeah, that's even because that song came out 2009, and so that one, not quite the time period. Let's see. Deontay says, my Grapsody fam, Wrestle Kingdom is soon upon. I will be up and awake. Mercedes watch, stacked card. OC don't sleep on Tam Nakano. Much love, y'all.
For sure, don't sleep on Tam. Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom is looking like it's going to be amazing. Super excited for it.
Let's see. Malcolm Brown says, party up, DMX. In the middle, Jimmy Eat World.
Good choices.
Let's see. Actually, party up is like the one. That's probably really expensive, but
has to be.
Like I could just picture like
that's all white people's favorite DMX song.
Right, and like I said, when you're seeing like all of the moves hitting and while y'all gonna make me lose my mind, that's actually the one.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Up in here, give X that money. Well, he's dead. Give his family that money.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, DMX.
Like I said, I bet that'd be an expensive one. Jake Salazar says, y'all see New Day out here acting like Hulk Hogan Tuesday night, trying to make Brits sing the Pledge of Allegiance. I thought New Day was great on Tuesday night. I did watch. I watched a lot of NXT this week. I watched because I saw Mandy Rose lose the NXT Women's Championship, and immediately I talked about in our group chat. I was my alert went off of, this seems very unlike them to have Roxanne just win it a couple days before at Deadline and then all of a sudden do the title match. And I'm like, that doesn't feel like something that they would do without reason. And then the next day, of course, Fightful Select broke the story that
there was reason.
Which, by the way, I'm going to get in Fightful defense mode for a second.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Yes. A lot of people out there don't like Fightful. I know that. I'm not stupid. I read all that shit. And
don't read it. Just
I get trolls in my mentions all the time. I know that there are people who don't like Fightful. Again, as far as personality is concerned, different strokes, different folks. I get it. But the people who don't like Fightful, who do it in a way where they discredit Fightful's work, who say that Fightful isn't, Fightful's fake news, Fightful doesn't get reports right, Fightful gets stuff wrong, which, like, there's literally no track record to back that up. People just, when it's stuff they don't like, that's what they do.
Of course.
And, like, if Fightful's gotten something wrong, we'll usually make sure we address that. But for the most part, I've never worked around anybody more diligent about making sure that a report is 100% more than Sean. Like it's just a fact. Sean. I've watched Sean sit on information that he's gotten because he couldn't verify it, and it's like in a way where it would set the internet on fire if we reported what we heard. But it's like, but we didn't hear it from enough people And then it ended up being true, but it was like, but we didn't. There wasn't enough due diligence on it to get it out there. A lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of times where we've been fed bullshit and by WWE, by wrestlers, by guys, wrestlers in the locker room, by whoever, and sit on it. I said all this to say, I saw people this week who are very anti-Fightful, who are very anti-Sean, anti-us, anti-whoever, talking about the release of Mandy Rose. Last I checked, that wasn't reported by anybody else. Last I checked, WWE didn't even put that information out.
They don't report their releases anymore.
WWE doesn't report releases. Last I checked, that's a Fightful story. That is a story that, if you've talked about that story, that is a story that came from Sean Ross Sapp. That's it. There's no other ways around that. And most people have given their credit to where that story came from. But like I said, WWE never reported that. If you are the type of person that says nothing Fightful ever says is true, as far as you're concerned, Mandy Rose is still employed.
Mm-hmm. Boy, when I tell you, and not to jump on board with you with Fightful defense, when I tell you this is a bad week for the anti-wrestling media crowd, oh boy, you guys are in the dirt. All you guys that were trashing Raj for the last few months, oh man, you out of here. You gotta apologize now because he's been right all along. And so I feel like this happens quite a bit with people that are anti-media folks that are like, oh, these dirt sheet guys, they don't know anything. They just report anything. And you see it happen with Meltzer a lot. People just don't like Meltzer because they don't listen to The Observer. They don't read it. They just know this perception or reputation of who he is, and they don't like him based on that. And I think that Sean has reached this point. Anybody that's successful reaches a point where people know of you, and it's just like, I just don't like this Sean guy, so all of his reports are false. And that's not based on anything. It's just, I don't like him. And hey, you're welcome to not like anybody. I don't like quite a few people, but that doesn't mean you have to discredit their work.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You don't have to like anybody, but don't discredit. That's exactly it. Because, again, on the topic of releases, pretty sure every release going back to 2021, because the last release WWE reported was Bray Wyatt back in 2021. All those releases, those NXT releases, I found out about Swear's release from Sean. Like, as far as all of those releases are concerned, that has all been reported by Fightful. Like, that's information that Fightful gets.
Listen, the guy reported the biggest news story in wrestling of the last 3 years. He broke that story.
He broke CM Punk's return.
And I see our chat going crazy on Raj. Look, I don't agree with everything Raj says, of course, but that's besides the point. He was right about the Sasha thing, and he deserves the credit for that. I'm not saying you got to like the guy or agree with everything he says, but when someone is right, it's okay to just compartmentalize these things.
Now, as far as Mandy's concerned, this is a very, very, very touchy subject. It's a very interesting subject. I will start by saying, no, I don't agree with releasing her at all. And I'm going to put that out there right off the bat, that because I don't want anybody under the impression that I believe that she should have been cut for any reason related to the content she had put out. I did laugh a lot yesterday at the idea of, again, I like to play out scenarios in my head. And, Meltzer reported yesterday in The Observer that it was Matt Bloom who brought it to Shawn Michaels' attention. And I swear, this is how I saw that playing out. Of Matt Bloom just like on his phone, like, and then Shawn Michaels comes up behind him like, hey, what's that? And like, oh, Sean, you have to see this.
Yeah, I was just about to show you. I was just about to show you this.
I was just on my way.
Oh man,
that's how the scenario's played out.
Definitely.
I was just about to show you.
What are we gonna do about this, HBK? We got to do something about this. We got to get this filth off the internet.
Yes, we have to get it off the internet. Sean's
I'll be
like, yes,
right back with my phone.
absolutely, yeah.
Go to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah,
I mean, in order for
Sean's
them
like,
to
yes,
find
absolutely. We have to do something about this, Matt. I want you to send me All of it. Every single thing.
All of it.
Send it all to me right now.
Every picture. I need all the.
Yeah, in order for them to
And an
find
email.
out, somebody had to be subscribed to this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because it all leaked on Twitter on Monday,
Oh,
and
that's
that was it more than anything else. Is that it was all over Twitter Monday, and
Because she apparently had this thing for a couple months up, right?
right, and it was. I mean, no, it was the way the scenario played out was extremely whack. I don't know if you guys have seen the screenshot of the DM that Mandy had sent. I'm not going to post that because it's just.
Oh,
wrong.
are you
But
talking about the tweet that led to some of the leaks and
Yeah, and
the
then
DM to
and-
them? Yeah, that was super corny to me.
The super
I
corny.
don't
Yeah, you shouldn't have posted that screenshot. But Mandy was trying to get the links
It
taken
was
down.
to quote friend of the show. It was cloudy. It was exceptionally cloudy.
Yes. And yeah, Mandy had tried to get it taken down. And like, don't post. Like, if a wrestler comes to you, like, and I thought she was very kind in that message. It seemed like
Yeah,
Please
that
take
was
this
that
down.
was whack.
yeah, don't screenshot that and be like, look what she's trying to do.
Look who's
that-
in my
that-
DMs, guy. Super clout chaser energy. I don't like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. And regardless, this information being out there led to the release of Mandy Rose. And after a very, very long title reign, I called this on Day After Dynamite this week. I said it was one of the most important title reigns NXT's ever had. And the reason I say that is because, granted, while they've had longer reigns, Asuka had a longer reign, Adam Cole had a really long reign, and you also had Shayna Baszler, whatnot. This was the only one that had the entire run play out on TV.
Right.
Everything else is WWE Network era. And granted, while that stuff we liked more, at the end of the day, that was stuff that was watched less. And so, thinking about how this was one that took place entirely on network TV for a year. And they ended it and then released her. And, she tweeted, content's still up, site's still up. Thanks for the
She
support.
tweeted that, or was that on her fan site?
Oh, yeah, she put that on the site. That's right. But she's like,
Yeah,
site's
I
not
was
going
about to
anywhere.
say, whoa, she tweeted that.
No, she was just like, site's still here. She
Job-
put out.
job-
that was
job's
her
not
statement.
finished.
Yeah, she's like, site's still here. Thank you for the support. And I hate this for a couple of reasons. One, here we are, 5 days removed from her losing the title. Nobody's talking about Roxanne anymore.
Unfortunate.
That
she's
was
great. She's amazing,
yeah,
and
she
the
had
win
pretty
itself
much
was good.
Yeah, and she had it pretty much till the next morning that people got to talk about Roxanne winning the title. And, there were people saying, hey, she started the year as Ring of Honor champion and ended it as NXT champion. That's really cool. And, for as young as she is, that's a lot of growth. But the moment's now been overshadowed because now Mandy's no longer the bad guy in this scenario. In the scenario of, like, she doesn't get to be the heel anymore. Now she's kind of the victim of what took place. And so as a result of that, the narrative around her losing the title has changed. And I hope they can swing it back around to more of a congratulatory feeling toward Roxanne and less of a look what happened to Mandy.
Right. Like, hopefully the crowd, like, when Roxanne gets her celebratory promo moment, that the crowd doesn't hijack on some, like, Mandy Rose chant shit. You know how crowds could be, and you know how people are. So
I'm not sure if that'll happen. I think Roxanne.
The good news is, pretty sure they taped NXT already, right? Like, they've taped.
they did. They did.
taped it through the year, so at the
Right.
very least, that was.
They can edit that shit out.
So
Yeah.
even if anything along those lines happened, whatever we. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they've taped NXT. They sent
And
those
shout out
guys
to
home for
Roxanne.
Christmas.
She really is tremendous. Like, she did do the ROH thing and NXT thing. She's had an amazing year. This moment, she's deserved this big moment for a long time, and I hate that it's overshadowed by this Mandy shit because she didn't deserve that. She's just an innocent bystander being a really good professional
She was going to
wrestler.
beat. I think she was going to beat Mandy no matter what. I think
Totally.
that,
Yeah.
like, that was my prediction when we talked over the card last week. That I was like, well, I said I think it's Roxanne if they're ready to take the title off of Mandy.
Right.
Because that's also why I was like, as far as the men's match was concerned, I said that it's. I was like, my pick would be Carmelo only if it's time to take the belt off of Braun, and I don't think it is. So they ended up going with Waller, which means it's still not time to take the belt off of Braun.
What did you think of that Iron Survivor stipulation, by the way? Did you watch? Did you watch all of it?
I went back and finally watched it this week. I liked the men's match a lot. I thought that was very well put together. It's one of those matches, like I called it convoluted last week, and part of why I said it was convoluted is because in a real life scenario, how would any of that work? But of course, the good news is it's scripted pro wrestling. You just make it work. So that's luckily what they did here. And I thought it was a good match. But the women's I liked too. I didn't like it as much. I think the men's match was much stronger.
Yeah, I think the men's match worked better because it was more fast-paced and there was more stuff to cling on to. Like all of the stuff in the penalty box with Axiom and JD and some of the rest of the stuff with the match, I thought it was just a better constructed match. But I agree, the stipulation's a little convoluted. But, I mean, it's interesting. I think they can work around it and make it an NXT staple eventually. It's
especially since they lost. Sean talked about this on the media call. He said that, I don't have War Games anymore, so I got to, since Hunter took that, so had to have something to kind of replace it. And I guess this is the new thing that replaces War Games.
Yeah, and so, in that vein, it works. I did think that Carmelo should have won, but if they're not ready to take the title off of Braun, then this makes sense.
I don't think your boy Grayson's going to get the big W against Braun?
No, I don't.
I think that, honestly, I would do Carmelo WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver. That makes the most sense to me. Yeah, and he should win. So I think, and that's why I was saying, it's like, look, if it's time to take the belt off of Mandy, Roxanne was it. And Roxanne did get it, and sure enough. But I think they probably would have waited till Vengeance Day to do that one, do it in front of an arena.
Or at least the New Year special, something.
Yeah. No, I think they would have, because honestly, that's where you're going to get moments, is doing it in an actual crowd and not in a sound stage with 200 people and a audience coordinator going off camera.
Not to turn this into an NXT deadline review, but as someone that did not like the New Day stuff going into this, and it felt very much tacked on to this pay-per-view, and I'm not walking that back at all. I still don't like it. I still think it feels tacked on and lazy. I thought that match was very good.
Match was so good. I watched that live. That was very, very good.
The match was very good. The moment was good for them. And, I'm never going to, not support the guys. I thought that was great for them. I think it's good that they have another accolade, but I still have no interest in watching them on NXT. Sorry. Yeah. But it's great for them. I'm glad that they're at least getting something to do. I just wish it was on the main roster. This Mandy stuff is very interesting to me because, as I alluded to on Twitter, is that you have capitalized on this woman's sexuality for the entire time that she's been on NXT. That the entire rebrand with this woman has been built around the way she looks. And even before that, that was the character. I mean, you can go back to that Naomi storyline. You could go back to even some of the stuff with Sonya that was part of the character. It's always been,
the whole point of her with Otis was that look at this girl who's completely out of his league.
How many times have we seen Mandy Rose in a hot tub on TV?
Yeah, or or them putting on their website, look at her Instagram posts. Look how these are the hottest Instagram posts of the week and all this other stuff. And so, for you as a company to do that and then, come down at her for selling content based on her sexuality, it looks away. It looks crazy. And it kind of bothers me. And that's not to say that they are in the wrong for firing her. I don't think they should have fired her. But if she's in breach of her contract, they have every right to fire her. I just think that optic looks kind of crazy. And I just don't agree with that. I also don't agree with her not being able to make content on a third party on her own. It's not like she was promoting this stuff anywhere in character. It's not like this was any part of her main timeline or anything. I don't necessarily agree with it. But with that said, I understand why they may have felt like their hands were tied and they had to do something about this. I just don't agree with it. I think that it's very, very interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about the idea of Matt Bloom.
Shawn Michaels pulling up on the back of Matt Bloom.
Yeah. So, man, I think it's very interesting that both of the biggest stories in wrestling this week, at the heart of it, is women's pay. And I think that the interesting thing here is with the pay gap here is I think that Mandy, you'd have a hard time arguing anybody else was the face of that brand. Mandy was the face of the brand. I didn't like the Toxic Attraction stuff. I'm not a big fan of NXT 2.0, but it would be pretty hard to deny that she wasn't the face of the brand. Her and Toxic Attraction held all the titles like Undisputed Era did. Most of the commercials coming out of it was built around Mandy. That was essentially her show. And so
as real as it gets.
And so for her to be essentially the face of that brand, I wonder how much she was getting paid. And I'm not pocket watching here, but I would bet, and I think it is a pretty safe bet, that she was paid less than a lot of men on that brand. And so when you're getting into a situation where she's now making exclusive content, and I don't know this for a fact, but I know what other women are making off their content. And if she's possibly making six figures doing that content, and you're coming to her and saying, "Oh, can you take that down?" I'd be looking around like, no.
Nah.
Because I'm not getting paid that here. I'm getting paid that there. So, nah. And we've seen that play out with somebody like Selena, where Selena knew what she was getting paid on her OnlyFans stuff, and she wasn't doing explicit content, so I don't want to compare it, but she knows what she was getting paid doing that, and she looked around and was like, nah, I'm making good money doing that, so no. And so I get it. And again, I don't want to make this into... the man is always wrong, but if I have a side hustle going, because there are plenty of people that work. For example, I know people that are like a CPA, right? And if you're a CPA and you work for a company, you usually sign a deal where you can only do, financial advisory and financial services through your company. But I know quite a few people that still do taxes on the side as a side hustle to make money. Is that technically wrong? Yes. So I think Mandy knew what she was getting into. I think she knows that it's not in her contract to be able to do with that, but fam, I'm making bread. And so is it technically wrong? Yes. But do I agree that people are like, oh, this is so horrible. She had a contract. How dare she do that? Like, that's just not realistic. Real people don't live in that world. Real people make bread and they're trying to survive. So I get it. But it's just a messed up situation because, this just doesn't affect Mandy. Like you guys said with Roxanne, it affects her because now, you've got this thing lingering over her title win. It affects Gigi and JC because now it's like, what are they going to do going forward? Yeah, they can still be a tag team, but their act was built around being Mandy's sidekicks. And so, not to diminish what they were as tag champions, but that's what it was. And so what do you do with them moving forward? Do you just call them up as a tag team? What's next for them? And I just think the fact that we have to question that is just unfortunate. For as much as she did for herself, again, whether you like Mandy as a character or not, she was a success on NXT. And I feel like it's kind of a shame that she built up all of this goodwill for a year and she's not getting to take that to the main roster and have a big moment. Because that should have been what this is building to. That's the point of developmental. And so to tell this woman, all right, well, come here and, humble yourself and be on developmental, to work out. And it did work out. And then she doesn't get the fruits of her labor. It's messed up.
So that begs the question, of course, the $1 million question that everybody's been asking. Tommy Dreamer already answered it. He was like, look, if she wants to, she can come to Impact. And
but she would fit on Impact. She would fit very well on Impact, honestly, because they've done characters like her on Impact. Like, she fits the style of Impact Wrestling a lot.
It's hard we're talking about, this is all based around money and then Impact. Money, I'm making money, and then why the fuck would I go and make Impact?
Is Impact going to tell her to take her site down, though?
According to reports, yes, they are. Reports that I read that they said they don't want any explicit content also, which I think is fucking a scam. But...
and then And then, of course, there's always Tony. And
hey, Tony.
Honestly, though, it sounds like she's making a lot more money to not get fucking body slammed. That's what people are forgetting about.
Yeah.
Like, she might just be like, "Fuck this shit. I'm gonna."
Well,
do this over here and not get slammed.
The way I saw it from Tony's perspective of like, would you sign her or not? And I look at it kind of the same way you look at Adam Cole as I mean, look, this was probably the most important champion you've had in the same way that Adam Cole was on your TV run of NXT. And you're kind of just like gift wrapping her to us. So like in the sense of, I said on Day After Dynamite that Mandy Rose, she came in and the company was clearly behind her from the time she was on screen. She had the blurry camera entrance thing, and you always had Corey. Yeah, you had Corey Graves going nuts on her on commentary, and
that's another thing, fam. You had Cole sexualizing the hell out of this woman on TV, like it's wild.
So it went on for a while, right? And then she went to NXT. There's rumors that it was because she didn't want to go on the road because of whatever. But regardless, she went to NXT, and she got to work on things. She got to work on her character. She got to work in ring. And, whether or not you liked her in ring is another thing, but you can't really deny that she's better now than she was. When
she's absolutely improved.
Most definitely.
Right. And so if you're looking at it from Tony's perspective, you would look at that as, well, shit, the developmental part of it's done. Like
they developed her.
They developed her already. Mm-hmm. The developmental part has been done. Yeah. Like, if we wanted somebody else on the roster that offers something that kind of none of the other that's unique to who she is and to her character, and she already just went through the developmental process, sure, why not? And she was champion for a year, so like she just got to work on carrying herself, all of that shit.
Yeah. Because that's the interesting thing about this, because I know people are going to go, well, does it matter if she was the face of a brand if not that many people watched it? And it's like the lesser of the three WWE shows. I think it does because
still matters.
She still went out on top. She didn't really have the chance to go back after being champion and have them book her as less than. She went out as champion and went out as the third longest reigning women's champion for that brand. That matters. A lot of women that come into AEW from the indies, they don't have that kind of success coming in. And so to bring in somebody with that kind of name and recognition, I do think it matters.
With the TV presence, she's been in live TV. Like, she offers a lot.
And she's somebody you could bring in as a heel, which is something that you've kind of struggled to bring in, right? Because everybody comes in with some notoriety behind them and some excitement of like, oh shit, we're seeing this person here. But like, I think a lot of the AEW audience would be like, oh, Mandy Rose, boo.
I am going to, if I fantasy book this as a heel, you got Saraya standing in the ring because they had history because of Absolution. And she just comes in and he goes, you know what? I never needed you. You went to NXT and you were the name of NXT. You were like a pioneer with NXT. I went there and I did more than you did in a year. And all this other stuff she can rightfully brag on. And I'm not saying that to dump on Saraya, but if you had a heel character that can come in and, do something unique, she has built-in feud. She has a built-in feud with Saraya there. She has a built-in feud with Athena. She has built-in feuds with a number of people there that could work. If you're looking at somebody that can come in even with Britt and go, yeah, I was on the other channel, but I was the champion of that brand. That was my show. AEW was never your show.
Right.
It works.
It works. Derek Gordon said NXT winning New Day winning the NXT tag titles feels like Dolph winning the NXT title to me. It's a little bit better. I think.
It does kind of feel that way, but I just don't want to.
I mean, only because New Day is better than Dolph Ziggler in like every way. And I once gave Dolph Ziggler Wrestler of the Year like in 2010.
You was wild.
No, I thought in 2010 that man was on fire, and they knew that too, because like coming out of 2010, they were straight up like, all right, January 2010, he faced Edge at the Royal Rumble in 2011. They were like, okay, that man had such a great 2010, 2011. And then somehow at the beginning of 2011, they're like, never mind. And he went so up and down. But like 2010 Dolph Ziggler, I thought those matches he had with, of course, Daniel Bryan, but like was dope shit. And
now Dolph's good. I'm trolling.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
no, Dolph is good. Dolph's just stale. That's the issue with Dolph.
Yeah, he stayed too long.
If he went somewhere else, I'd think he was so good. Like if he had a run in some random indie or
I've always said he should have
amazing.
I think he should have done what Cody did. I think he should have quit in 2016. 2016 is the year that Dolph Ziggler should have walked away from WWE because he was at a point of like people are like, okay, like shit or get off the pot. Like you clearly have the potential to be that guy, but it's not happening. And if I were him, I would have done exactly what Cody did, which is leave, go to Ring of Honor, go to New Japan, get some buzz around myself, and one of two things would have happened. By the time it was time for AEW to launch, either they would have signed him immediately, or he would have been brought back like Drew McIntyre to NXT by like, if he had left in 2016, by 2018, they would have re-signed him and given him.
He would have been beloved.
Right.
People would have loved him.
Because he would have suddenly had more behind him to show for himself in a way like Drew McIntyre did. Drew McIntyre was handpicked by Vince McMahon, right? And it was like, okay, it didn't quite work out. He was a 3-man band. He left, did the Indies, went and did Impact. That WrestleMania weekend in Orlando, he was just showing out. And Drew McIntyre is a big dude too, so he was like bigger than everybody in the Indies he was standing with. And then he signed back. But when he signed back, this was a guy that people were like, the NXT was able to bring him in as this is world-renowned Drew McIntyre. Right. This is not 3-man band Drew McIntyre. Ziggler should have, and he missed the boat on that. Rob says, I think Carmelo Hayes versus Braun at Stand and Deliver.
I agree. And I should say, I think Mandy's going to be fine. I think she's going to land on her feet. I think, if anything, her run with NXT proved that she's a professional. Because, I mean, no matter what you want to say, she didn't go out and boo-boo face this match. She went out there and lost like a professional. And she hasn't been on Twitter putting her business out there. I think she's handling things well.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Speaking of women and their worth, we got to talk about the big one. So this story came out of the Wrestling Observer this week. It's a big story, and I feel like people only kind of cherry-picked out pieces of it. So if you get a chance, read the entirety of the story. The big piece that's come out of it is that it's pretty much confirmed that Sasha's been done with WWE for months. The question of why she's still listed on the roster is kind of a simple one, which is that they came to an agreement as far as... it's basically what Raj talked about, that there was an agreement that she has separated from the company, but that she remains under contract till January 1st. That's been rumored kind of the whole time. The only question was, could they make up? That, as far as we're concerned, it was always said that she wasn't around anymore. She's been gone. And WWE has kind of made that clear. They removed her from the opening signature of the show. They removed her from the NXT Level Up intro, where it would always show wrestlers who started out in NXT and are now on the main roster. They removed Sasha from that. They removed her from all graphics, all of that stuff. And so the only question was she negotiating to come back? Because as far as separation is concerned, January 1st, she's out. Right. She is, I don't know if it's January 1st, but it's at least January that she can do what she wants to do. And, we saw her on the Bailey stream this week. She was talking a lot about that. She seems very excited. She was, what's the word that people like to use for that? Glowing. She was glowing. And she looks great. She looks amazing. She looks happy. She looks all the things. She looks like somebody who's like just ready to move on to the next step of her life. I know I saw somebody say, well, if she wasn't returning to WWE, why would she do a thing with Bailey? And I thought, other way around, guys. This entire Bailey thing breaks all sorts of kayfabe. Baby. Like all around, as far as we're concerned on screen, these aren't supposed to be friends. Bailey and Sasha broke up on TV a year and some change ago, 2 years ago almost. But for all the talk of where Sasha was supposed to come back, where people thought she'd come back, it was all on opposing Bayley. So to me, I'm like, this tells me that they're willing to just like, nah, we're friends. We're best friends. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as far as we're concerned, we're always going to be joined at the hip. We're always going to be two people you see together because that's our friendship. Sorry. But the talk, of course.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting on that IG Live if you watched it, and people that are like, oh, well, why would she do that IG Live if she is going back? On the same IG Live where Bayley admitted that she's rooting for Ricky Starks in the title match, and CM Punk jumped in the chat and all these other things. No, this was not a WWE event. It just happened to be that most of her friends are WWE wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, Sasha. One of the pieces that came out of that Observer story that kind of took over the headlines yesterday was that WWE and Sasha could not come to new terms on pay, and that they don't see her value as high as Becky Lynch or Charlotte. That basically created conversation on both sides. A lot of people saying, well, Sasha's not worth it for a number of reasons. The big one being that she's already proven untrustworthy. She's walked out on the company twice. So why would you trust her when Charlotte and Becky have already proven their worth to the company?
Why would you put that person in a WrestleMania main event? Why would you bring that person back to wrestle Kevin Owens this year? Why would anybody that's walked out of the company be rewarded for that? I don't know. I've never seen that before from Stone Cold Steve Austin and from Brock Lesnar and from all these other wrestlers. I don't know. Seems a little
Brock
bit.
Brock Lesnar walked out at the height of his career, by the way.
Bro walked out. He said, I'm going to play football. I'm out. I'm gone. I don't care.
And then he came back and got.
I don't care about nothing.
And he came back and got a bigger bag than he's ever gotten in his career. Came back and
became the number one guy. Vince's number one guy. Let him beat everybody. Walked out.
He came back and ended the streak.
Yeah.
Still talk to me about people's track records. Talk to me about what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done that twice and come back and been rewarded.
Like it doesn't. That's not a thing. This is, and the thing about Sasha, she didn't even want. She wasn't like, give me the same money as Roman Reigns, give me the same money as the highest. But she's like, just give me the same money as these people that I came up with. We came in at the same time.
Not just people
all
that
the
I've
same things. Like what?
Yeah, not just people that I've come up with. People that have done things that are, comparable to things that I've done. If let's just say, for example, if the measuring stick is all right, well, they've main evented WrestleMania, so that's what they're getting paid. I've main evented WrestleMania too. So, I don't know. Again, when we get into this pay gap, and I of course don't want to turn this into a wrestling is behind in the world, because the pay gap conversation is a conversation in every industry when it comes to women. Yep. But it's especially a thing to me that is interesting in wrestling because, hey, we get on this podcast and talk about wrestling. We don't get on here and talk about, I don't know, music or whatever else. I mean, we do, but this is a wrestling podcast.
I know. We're talking about doing a music look back podcast.
Yeah. So I think that, like I said, with the pay cap thing, and I think it's interesting that now you have more women that have autonomy outside of what the company wants to do. And I think that's what's so interesting about the conversation about how much they sexualize Mandy. And we did have situations, in the Divas era where, that was the mandate that you have to be this aesthetic. And now, women being able to control their brand, I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the women, and I think it's a good thing for wrestling in general. And I feel like Sasha being able now to control her brand and do what she wants is a good thing as well. And totally. I don't see anything wrong with her deciding like, nah, this is my worth and this is what I'm getting paid. This is what they're getting paid. So if you want me to come back, this is what I want. If you're not willing to give me that, then I'm out. And that's not a trying to trash the company. That's business. That is, this is what my value is. This is what I feel like I bring to the table. Pay me. If you're not going to pay me, then see you. That's the conversation. Anybody's going to have that same conversation.
And totally, if you're telling me that you don't think I'm worth what these other two women are, why am I going to come back when I know that you're not ever going to put me over the top of these people? Why would I ever agree to this?
Even if we want to get into the conversation, and about what those two women are worth. I don't want to diminish who those two women are and what they bring to the table. Becky, I believe, is the highest paid women's wrestler in the company.
They deserve that money,
and she's earned that because she renegotiated her contract after she had the biggest run of her career. So yeah, she's earned that. But at the same time, I have a hard time seeing how, if anybody believes, well, we're not going to push you as a main eventer again, so we believe your value is this. If we're looking at just her saying that I want to be paid, let's just say it's $1 million, well over $1 million. Because if I'm guessing, I don't think she makes $1 million right now, which is insane because I think somebody like Jinder Mahal makes $1 million. If we're gonna have a conversation about who has made more money for that company, I'm pretty certain that Sasha's made more money for that company than Jinder Mahal. Not a knock at Jinder, but that's just the truth of the matter.
You can knock Jinder because that guy's.
Well, I don't want to get into that. I just want to stay on the facts of the matter. That if we're looking at who was a draw,
hey, he's a master negotiator. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and
get your bag.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're looking at who was a draw when Roman was not there, it was Sasha.
Right.
And the numbers are there to back that up. I'm not just saying that. It's there. When you're looking at who was the mainstream draw, who was doing all of the outside outlets after WrestleMania this year, it was Sasha. Who I feel like if you're looking at who has one of the bigger names in that company, who if you mention their name to somebody that doesn't watch wrestling, most people know Sasha. And so
she's in The Mandalorian. Everybody watched that shit.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to get anecdotal, but my dad does not watch wrestling. He knows who Sasha Banks is.
Right.
So I think when you have that kind of value to the company, you bring this thing to the table, even if you're not going to make me champion again, even if I'm not headlining WrestleMania again, no, I'm going other places and doing other things. I'm making this there. Pay me. If you're not going to pay me, I'm going to go somewhere else and they're going to pay me. And if you think that I want, I'm going to show you. That's all this is.
That's it.
And so I don't understand how, as a fan, you can be angry at that because you should be happy for her, not just getting what she wants, getting to do something like, follow her dream and wrestle in Japan, not just getting to follow her dream and wrestle in Japan, getting to wrestle in Japan at the best time for a woman to wrestle in Japan.
Amazing time.
Yeah. And so, no, you should be happy for her following her dreams, and you should be even more happy for her to not just take what they're willing to give her and saying, no, I deserve more. And if you're not going to give me that, I'm going to find somebody who will.
And
There's nothing wrong with that.
The worst narrative of the week is we don't need Sasha, we have Bianca. We don't need a black woman, we have a black woman. I want to strangle someone.
I don't want to get into the comparison things because that's dumb.
They're two different. Just because they're black women, that's the only reason that these fools are comparing.
It's a dumb comparison. But even if we want to get into, we don't need Sasha Banks, fam. She had the most influential women's match of the last decade, not just with your company, in any company.
Yeah.
In any company. Her versus Bayley at TakeOver Brooklyn changed the face of women's wrestling. Yep. I said it on this podcast.
There's some women wrestling in WWE right now that were inspired by that match.
Exactly.
Roxanne, you know what I mean? She's your NXT champion. She's inspired by this match.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
fam. I said it on this podcast. I don't think some of the stuff with Stardom and New Japan that's happening right now would be happening if it wasn't for that match. That match changed everything. So no, I don't get this whole we don't need her. And even when people are going like, well, she's not a main eventer anymore, she's not this anymore. Does she still bring in that money? Hey, let me ask you a question. If you don't think Austin is main eventing a show again and you're just bringing in Austin per appearance, you still got to pay him, right? You still got to show him the money. He ain't showing up for peanuts, bro.
No way.
Because my value is this. Don't ask me to come back and be like, nah, well, we're not going to push you. We're not going to push you past what you think you are anymore, so we don't have to pay you. No, yes, you do.
Brock's not having
I'm not showing up.
Brock's not having another match with Roman, but you're not paying Brock any less.
Yeah,
exactly.
The main event.
This whole idea that this is the ceiling for you now. We've decided like this is where we're at with you creatively. But I mean, even talking about that, this might be the peak of her as a wrestling. It's nuts. Like this is the woman that will go to Mexico for a month and train. Like you don't have a lot of women on your roster that will do that. Like that just shows how different she is. And this woman is 30 years old. Like it's not like she's washed.
Look, I am ready to see Mercedes cook. I am ready for everything that she's about to offer. And like, guys, it's December 17th. January is right around the corner. And we are so close to everything. Again,
weeks away.
Percentage watch, I'm like high 70s on whether or not she is the partner in Los Angeles.
And then he kind of said a little in the Observer that she was going to be at Wrestle Kingdom. Pretty much, that was kind of like
he pretty much
he pretty much implied it. But
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, I
think she's gonna hop on that ride back with Kenny. Like,
that's just crazy.
Be at the Dynamite the next week at the Kia Forum.
Yeah, and look, I've seen people negatively say, like, she's just doing what Cody did. She's leaving, and she's probably going to come back. Look, I have no preconceived notions of that. She probably will come back. If I had to guess, I bet Mandy will be back. But that doesn't mean that they're wrong for knowing their value. And because Cody was not wrong for knowing his value. Are people missing that fact? He was right. He was proven right, and he came back, and you know what they had to do? They had to pay him and give him everything he wanted.
Bags. Did y'all see what Booker T said about Mandy?
I did.
Yes.
Like, what are you talking about, dude?
I don't think I need
to
see it.
What are you talking about?
But yeah,
he said, I don't. He said, well, his defense was, it's a corporate thing, and then he was talking about how he don't think no other promotion should sign her.
Yeah,
as far as Mandy Rose is concerned.
What are you saying?
You rooting for people to fail? Like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
I don't understand.
Yeah,
He's like,
said,
no one should capitalize on her right now. I'm not like, what, dude? What?
We've had this conversation with Booker before. I love Booker as a wrestler. I love everything he means to wrestling as a black man, but some of them takes, bro, I just can't. I can't.
I actually just watched his first WCW title win last night. And it was awesome. Like, people started raising the roof at the end. Like, it was cool.
God,
like,
raising the roof back then.
Yeah, it was lit. Raising the roof.
Wrestling got to raising the roof like 3 years after that was a thing that black people were doing.
It was a wrap by that time. We were not raising the roof anymore. In 2000, dude, we are not raising the roof in 2000.
I know. Wait, when did the song come out?
Raise the roof.
Come on, let's raise the roof. Yeah.
That had to be 97.
Like I said, Uncle Luke Raised the Roof was 97. You're right. So and that's exactly what I mean. That the song.
And this was people July were done 2000, but they're doing it 3 years later.
I had that.
Oh, I forgot Stuart Scott was in the video. Rest in peace, Stuart Scott. I just pulled up the video, and Stuart Scott was in it.
Yeah, I had this moment with because they were at Allstate this weekend. Somebody was like, "There, Rosemont Horizon." I was like, "Fam, it hasn't been Rosemont Horizon since '99."
That's a long time.
it's Allstate Arena, man. Like it's done. I know we try to hold on to some of these things, but it's over, man. It's been almost 30 years.
SummerSlam '94, feel it's forever, man. Rosemont.
Yeah. Wait, wait. SummerSlam '94. That was United Center.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah. That was that was the house Jordan built because that was that was right after it was built.
Was that the last WWE pay-per-view at United Center?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they've run house shows there, but United Center. That was.
Why didn't they stop running at the United Center?
Because it's expensive.
It's expensive, yeah.
It's like running at MSG, pretty much.
Yeah,
you gotta fill it. If you're gonna pay that, you gotta fill it up, man.
So the thing about United Center, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but they have union dues.
Okay.
And that Madison Square Garden has those as well, but the difference is. For a long time with Madison Square Garden, there wasn't an alternative. And then Barclays Center was built. Now WWE's like, we're going to run Barclays Center as often as possible. Yeah.
Right.
And like, we really do MSG as like the vanity thing. With United Center, it was a case of we still have Rosemont or now the Allstate Arena that's right off the freeway that fans can still access. It doesn't hold as much as the United Center. It's not as new as the United Center, but at the end of the day, it is a big ass arena that, like, you know what? I was thinking about how Long Island has a new arena, right? They have the UBS arena. AEW's run it twice now. WWE ran it once and didn't draw there. And that's because WWE is used to running, what's the arena there? Nassau Coliseum. They typically run Nassau Coliseum. WWE tried to run UBS once and didn't do the AEW's numbers there, and then went back to Nassau Coliseum. And Nassau Coliseum is going to keep WWE there because it's like, look, this is a venue that's synonymous with WWE.
Right.
Just keep running here, and so they'll keep doing it.
That's where Evolution was, right?
Yeah, like Nassau Coliseum, it's a good venue for WWE. They just ran SmackDown there a few months ago.
Right.
But meanwhile, MJF now suddenly has his own arena because UBS Arena only opened last year, and they ran last December. That was where MJF got those big cheers against CM Punk, who got booed. They've run it twice, and MJF has been cheered both times. He actually like one of the rare wrestlers who can say like, I have my own arena. That like they literally the UBS Arena shared MJF there. Like they'll be able to put his picture up there one day. It's his venue. That's crazy.
It might already be up there. Honestly, how they do the little concert photos in the back in the halls. Mm-hmm. He's still a nerd, but yeah, he's cool.
Yeah. I keep seeing this take, and not keep seeing this take. I've watched this scroll through. I am not in any way downing what stuff like All Japan Wrestling did for women's wrestling, but if you're talking about for this decade,
yeah, just for the last 10 years,
for this decade, and what the quote unquote women's revolution in WWE did for women's wrestling. No, it was a huge influence. They were not giving women's titles to indie companies that didn't have women's titles before because of Manami Toyota. Even getting into like the creation of the IWGP women's title. A big part of why Bushiroad is in the business of trying to do that is because the women headlined WrestleMania 35. So no, I just you got to put these things in perspective. I'm not taking the context away of great Japanese women's wrestlers before that. Of course, they deserve their credit, but I'm saying in this decade and what the four horsewomen have done for women's wrestling in this decade. No, you can't devalue that.
Right.
You can't. So, a couple of more things to talk about. Uncle Howdy.
Boy, howdy.
So, and really quick on the Sasha topic, I want to read a couple of the super chats we got to make sure that everybody gets their statementhood. Hala Basana says, likelihood that Mercedes is penciled in for AEW but not official yet, which is why they're playing coy. They did book the first dance before Punk was 100% official, so there's precedent. I'm pretty sure Tony hasn't signed anybody that hasn't. He usually gets a working agreement and then signs them to a contract the day they debut in the company. Brian didn't sign his contract till All Out. Same with Adam Cole.
Like that Auto Elite graphic is like really new. It's just brand new.
Like a lot of guys typically don't sign until they are in the building, and that's just usually how it goes. We taught one of the things that Willow Nightingale dropped on us was that she signed the morning of that Rampage where they dropped the All Elite graphic. So,
and like WWE could make a move still, I think, from this point to the beginning of the year if they want to. But all that's going to be is like, well, good, Sasha's going to get paid if they do. So,
I don't.
But I feel like if she is in principle the person who's being Saraya's partner at the forum, I have to think about how they wouldn't have booked that match if they didn't have something in principle, something that's like, at least a little concrete.
Yeah, because it sounds like the New Japan stuff is just on agreement right now. They don't have a deal set in place. She hasn't signed a contract with New Japan, so she could technically go back to WWE. But again,
but you don't want to burn people who have who are taking a chance on you. You don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah, that typically hasn't happened in pro wrestling, where like somebody agrees to something and then it's like, actually, fuck off because I'm going with these other guys. Like, I mean, that used to happen a lot in the '90s, of course, but I feel like modern day
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you don't want to burn those bridges because right now anybody who's giving you an opportunity in lieu of somebody else is
maybe the Good Brothers in New Japan, but they might.
Yeah, I mean, but the reason I say like I mentioned that it's an agreement because I keep seeing people like, well, she's just gonna end up back. I can't get with this idea that her going back is a win for your side, because it isn't your side. You're not the company. You don't work for them. And even if she does go back, it ain't a win. It's a win for her because she was proven right. And so far she's been proven right in everything that she said. I think people are missing that part of it, and I feel like that's kind of part of the Mandy stuff too. If Mandy goes back and they have to re-sign her, she's probably going to go back and sign for more money. So why is that not good for her? I just don't understand why people think that, somebody going back there, they won, I got you. Like, Cody going back there doesn't mean WWE won. It means Cody was always right.
Right.
It means Cody won.
Yeah, Cody won.
If they bring you back, you won.
You won.
This is what I'm saying. I created value. You needed me. So
Right.
I just don't get this idea where people are just like, they had to go crawling back. No, you got to pay me.
If you left on your own accord, or by, and then you come back with more, like, you won. That's how I see that. Ferthausen says, we don't talk 2020 wrestling, but my two faves was AEW Stadium Stampede and Hell in a Cell Bayley versus Banks. Reminded me of why I love wrestling.
Yeah, those Hell in a Cell matches, like, come on, she did every match, everything that needed to be done, like we said, besides winning the Royal Rumble. Like, she got all the accolades over there. It's like, only would legit be about money at this point. Like, give me my money if I'm coming back.
I don't think it is a stretch to say that Sasha's had some of the best Hell in a Cell matches ever.
Joel Wood says, Will, so is Sasha the partner as an NJPW star, or does she sign a contract? I think she signs a contract. Yeah. I think that
I'm under the belief that you were saying that, like, she's going to be with AEW, and that's how she's going to get to the agreement with New Japan, because they can't afford really to just give out the paper to her, I think, straight up.
And the $1 million question everybody's been asking. This is a good one. Eloquent asked, with Sasha gone, where do you think Naomi goes? I have zero clue.
Right, yeah. No idea at all.
I think right now the ball's in her court. If she wants to go back, she can go back. If she wants to do something else, it's up to her. Because it sounds like, her contract was up anyway, unless they wanted to freeze it.
It was supposed to be up this past summer. So
right.
It looks like it was probably frozen through the first.
Yeah, so if she wants to do something else, she can do it. If she wants to go back, she can go back. I wouldn't be surprised if she goes back. But, I would also love to see her go somewhere else and, prove people wrong about her. I'm always for the wrestlers showing people what their worth is.
Husband being there is the only thing that kind of like holds me down, that she might go back. Just like, if you want to travel the road with your husband, that's probably the best route to go. But like you said, I'd like to see her do the same shit that Sasha's doing. I like to see her in Japan. I like to see her in Mexico. I like to see her in AEW and Impact, anywhere really, because for so long, Naomi has been like one of the most underrated wrestlers in all of wrestling because of the things that she does, and she never really got the full opportunity to get her shit off. So, yeah, I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have and Tom says it wasn't Bayley and Sasha talking about that stream. It was Pam and Mercedes.
Straight up.
It was.
Yep.
It basically was. I did catch a few things that they kind of slipped on, like when she was like, when she had somebody in her house in the background, she was like, yeah, make us some music. And then Sasha was like, yeah, I need some new interest music. I was like, what you need new interest music for?
You know what I want to see, though, by the way? Because I feel like we're missing out on it for the right people. Like, we kind of had it for Carmella, except, like, Carmella's not the person I would have done that for. I would like to hear, because it's very prominent right now, a female rapper on Sasha's next theme.
Yeah.
I just feel like that would hit for me.
She need to get like Lotto or like somebody like the one of them very popular women rappers out there.
I just had this conversation because somebody was like, where does the first Sasha interview happen? And of course, Talk is Jericho and all these places are thrown around. I would love it if she would come here. But even more than that, I think the chess move to make is to not go to Wrestling Outlet at all, but go to a big outlet like Entertainment Weekly or somewhere where she shows you guys like, nah, I ain't just a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
That's a chess move, easily.
Yep.
All right, we got to talk about Uncle Howdy, though. Let's talk. So there was a segment last night on SmackDown that was hyped up. Rob Fee, Rob Fee had hyped this said that we got. No, you're not. You don't get to walk out on this one.
No, you're
Righteous Reg. You do not get to walk out on this one. No,
I'm out.
no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Nope. Because if I have to talk about it, you have to talk about this. All right. So, segment starts with LA Knight. LA Knight is in the ring, and I have concerns about LA Knight. I love LA Knight as a performer. I think Eli Drake, whoever you were first exposed to him as, he is a good performer. He is a great.
He's going to be a big star if they get him away from.
I like LA Knight a lot, man. I thought his promo last night was very good.
Yeah.
My only concern right now is I do not feel like that guy is over.
I don't think he is either, but
they were starting to wet him.
This ain't the way to get him over if they're trying to.
But this is the thing. That's why I said it was a bad idea to put him against Bryan, because Bray is more over than him, and it's like you put him in a position where people don't want to see him win. They want Bray to win.
Exactly.
So it's just not a good idea for somebody that's just starting out and trying to reestablish a new character to put him against Bray.
Who could have been in this position though? Is the only thing I kind of think about.
I mean, yeah, because I saw somebody say yesterday that they haven't learned necessarily from the Seth stuff, and I'm like,
yes and no. Because
well, I was like, they kind of did, because before they threw a world champion to the Wolves.
Right,
this time they're just throwing LA
Right.
Well,
I guess they have learned.
The reason I think it's different is that I thought it was good that LA Knight kind of established what fans are saying about him. It's like, no, you've come back and you're not doing anything. You're just coming out and you're saying mumble jumble and you whining about what you think you should have had. All of that stuff is justified, and I feel like that goes away to make him feel like a better character. He's not coming out there and acting like he's scared of him. Right. He's not coming out there and doing any of the stuff that Seth was doing at one point. Like, I still think one of the worst things they did with that feud was having Seth quiver in the corner and stuff and act like he was afraid of the Fiend. Because then at that point, you kind of took away what makes Rollins Rollins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he didn't come off badass at all. That image of him cowering and holding that middle rope, one of the worst things of all time. But, and I know that, they're saying fans were doing the yeah. Yeah, at the end, he started getting the over. They were starting to wet him through the promo, though. And, again, I have concerns that LA Knight's not necessarily getting over. And that's okay, because, like, you just kind of sprung him on fans. It's not like they really knew who he was. It was like, hey, here's the
Actually,
maximum.
they're kind of confused about who he is. You know what I mean?
It's like, hey, this was the Maximum Male Models guy who's now a different character, and this isn't necessarily a character we were like.
If you weren't watching NXT, you have no friend.
You're like, why did he turn back to this guy? Who's this guy? I thought he was the Maximum Male Models guy.
Yeah, but man,
and so,
I like LA.
Yeah, so I think he's good, but so. Out comes Bray. Big pop for Bray. I'm not denying Bray's popularity. And don't ever think that any point I'm making is an ad populum argument where we're discussing how popular Bray is. We're not. And Bray makes his way out, and he talks to the LA Knight, man. And he doing a great tribute to Brody Lee on his birthday, by the way. He gave us the yeah. It was good stuff. And then somebody in the chat just asked, how did the What chants make a comeback? They were gone for a while and it was better. They were gone because there were no fans. There was nobody back. There's nobody backstage on the NPC talking about what?
Right.
What?
Shit, man.
They were running fake crowd reactions for so long that you didn't have to. And but anyway.
At least in this case, it's not racist. Jeez, because most of the time it's racist. So with LA Knight, it wasn't. It was just
I've talked about how much I despise the What chant.
I hate it. I hate it.
So you had LA Knight implying that it was Bray who's been attacking him this whole time, and Bray's no, it's not. And then Bray starts beating the shit out, LA Knight starts beating the shit out of Bray, and Bray's just smiling in the corner. And then lights go out, and out comes Uncle Howdy, who stares down.
He comes out, and he's like, with his jacket, Uncle Howdy, ha 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 ha, Howdy, ha ha, spooky.
Yeah, so I want to bring up an image of the aforementioned Uncle Howdy, and
this is supposed to be Bo Dallas, right?
I don't know. We don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet.
Nope.
Yes. There's actually options that I've heard various things that it might not be him at all. But here we go. There's Uncle Howdy on our screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been a lot of talk. I threw it out to the Twitter universe. I asked, what do you guys think? And I got a whole bunch of responses that vary. Some people are like, this is not for me. And there's a lot of people who are like, this is great. So I got somebody who said it was, Jamari said, in person it was so strange. Jen said that while I think it's cool and I like Bray a lot, he's super creative, I think we're on a trip and it needs to get to the destination. It's been dragging. So I hope that we've at least seen, now that we've at least seen Howdy, that we get to like someplace with this story. Somebody said they like it, especially if it's Bo Dallas. And that this would have worked in 1997, but in 2022, Uncle Howdy, I'm going to hold the graphic up again, looks like Leprechaun.
What?
Costume is cool, visual is cool, like that there are more people, but let's get to the point already. Let's see, we got LA is a great actor. Was good at first, then it took a huge dive. Not for me. Looked like Hornswoggle on stilts.
Stilts.
Yeah, costume looks cheesy. I'm getting, I actually like this one, it's pretty good. I'm getting Tito Ortiz and TNA vibes. That's really good.
Oh my god.
And somebody gave put a Poochie gif and given the whole when are they going to get to the fireworks factory. There's a lot here, and somebody said it gives me Chucky Rick Steiner vibes.
Okay,
Somebody
you can cut back to us now. You can.
Yes.
Just Uncle Howdy for 20 minutes.
Yeah. So somebody said this shit stinks. Like, okay, here's the deal. And then somebody tagged Reg in this and was like, Reg is gonna bitch and complain. I mean, look, I'll take the sword on this one and say, not for me. And that's the most
That's a nice way of putting it.
That's a nice way of putting this. Not for me. I know that it can eventually get to the wrestling, but at this stage, not for me. And that's okay if it's for you. I appreciate if this kind of thing's for you. I saw somebody note that they're like, this is good storytelling in professional wrestling. And I think we've lost sight of the definition of storytelling in professional wrestling.
We've lost sight of a lot of terms that people overuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because that's not necessarily storytelling in the wrestling definition of it. The wrestling definition of storytelling is where you use what is happening on screen to progress story. And that can typically include matches, where in the match itself, you're telling a story, where within the action in the ring, you're conveying a narrative to the viewer that they are able to take away by simply watching it.
That's where it's been lost, because most of the time when people are talking about storytelling, they're talking about in-ring action. They're talking about psychology. They're talking about how the story moves in a match. They're not talking about the angles that happen. That brings it all together. But when it's like storytelling, they're talking about when Bret Hart was in there telling a story with a leg or fucking working on an arm. It's not what you think it is, but that is very important. These things are important, though, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're not important.
Right, but I think we have kind of lost sight of that when you apply storytelling to this. I disagree. I don't think this is storytelling. I think this is a narrative. This is an angle.
Yes.
This isn't necessarily wrestling storytelling. Because again, like Bret Hart, as you mentioned, masterful storyteller. That is, and that to me is what's engrossing in pro wrestling. That's the kind of stuff I look for. It's not to say that I dislike stuff that takes place out of the ring, because of course I don't. I've been out here saying that the Bloodline and Sammy stuff is some of my favorite stuff in pro wrestling.
Good stuff.
I would never say that. But what I am saying, though, is that, yeah, I am waiting for somebody to, like, do something. I am waiting for some, like, I don't know, a sanctioned match to happen. And in that regard, a sanctioned match with like a reason to happen, some stakes, I don't know. I have a worry that this is what we're in for, and this is just, it's not for me. And like, again,
someone tweeted that Bray Wyatt's going to be a part of the worst feud of the year without having a match, and I was like, wow. That is.
I mean, look, I can already tell people are gonna shit on this. I can already tell that like Bray Wyatt, recipient of multiple worst feuds of the year from the Observer Awards, is somehow going to walk away with another one because the people who vote in the Observer Awards are gonna tear this apart.
Exactly. Right.
And hey, I'm an Observer subscriber. I have voted in those awards. I would tear this apart. This isn't for me. This is very not pro wrestling. And like, again, I liked SmackDown this week. I walked away from SmackDown going, I saw some great wrestling. Saw some great wrestling to open the show. I thought that Ricochet versus Gunther was one of those matches that didn't necessarily have the crowd to start, but the way that they built up and earned that crowd reaction, by the end of it, everybody's going nuts, everybody's on their feet, everybody's screaming, and into every little bit of the action. And sometimes that's better than starting out with a hot crowd.
Yeah, it's more genuine.
When you have earned that crowd reaction, when you've won them over, that is amazing shit. I love everything about
Chicago's gonna make you earn it. They're not gonna just come out.
They are.
They're gonna make you earn it.
They are.
And I do think that this is the best crowd we've got at a WWE show in a while. I don't think it's a coincidence that it was in the Mecca for wrestling. But it just
tired of y'all.
But I'm curious, Phil. How are you feeling about Bray Wyatt at this moment? Because you've been a big Bray defender. I have been very anti-Bray pretty much since like Cena. I have not liked much of anything Bray has done, kind of ever. But
and they say I'm a Bray hater, but I don't believe it. I like him. Have at it, Phil.
I kind of don't agree with you that this was a great episode of SmackDown because
that's the part you disagree with.
Like, seriously, because I think that there were good things about this episode of SmackDown, but there was a lot of filler, man. And I know Rob Fee hates that he tweeted that because he's been getting the most hate. Right. Because you hyped people up for something and nothing happened.
Bro,
people thought CM Punk was coming.
I watched it because of his tweet. I thought they were gonna do something. They didn't do it.
I feel like there was hype for a few things on the show that didn't really pay off. I feel like they hyped up the main event throughout the show with those backstage segments, and it didn't really go anywhere. It just kind of was like the tease of something, and it was like, hey, here's Cena. And it was like, yeah, but I was here for the stuff that's in the ring. And look, I think it's great that Cena is going to get, the match. I think self-aware Cena is the best Cena. I said that online. I think him basically telling people like, yeah, I've had a match every year, and wait, I haven't had one yet. I'm going to come at the final hour on December 30th and have the match. Like, all that stuff is funny, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, but what was the point of all this other stuff that you were doing with Sammy
all the backstage segments did not lead to anything.
And so it was the same thing with the Bray stuff where you've been teasing this Bray stuff with LA for weeks, and then you get to this show and it's like, all right, this is going to be it. We're going to get the development, and the development is that, all right, it really is two different people. Okay, great, that's a great development in a vacuum, but it isn't enough of a development for a guy that has been back since Extreme Rules. Like, if you're ladling out us developments this slow, like, I need you to pick up the pace at this point. Like, and that's not to say that this segment was horrible, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, but I think it's just because we haven't gotten any development, because we haven't seen him wrestle, it's just like, all right, where are we going with this at this point? And again, that's not to say that it's terrible to me, but at the same time, I was sitting there looking like, okay, but where is this going? Like, give me something else other than just like, hey, here's Uncle Howdy. He's actually a real person. Okay, but what does that mean?
Is he gonna fight LA Knight? Like,
is he gonna wrestle? When are we getting to the matches? When are we gonna get to the culmination of any of this stuff?
When are we getting to the wrestling?
All right, Will Washington on Cena, over under of 5 bumps in the match of Cena.
Oh my God, Cena is gonna hit Sami Zayn with a couple of shoulder tackles. And, like he's only gonna hit the 5 moves of doom here.
That's it. Just 5. He's out.
And
we might see a like Kevin Owens is gonna work the majority of this match, and like we know what Cena does here. This is again, Cena only has like 2 years. Big match Cena and I ain't working Cena, and that just I feel like
crazy trajectory right there.
I feel like it's one of those 2 things, but I don't see him giving us full on Cena here. Maybe we get it, but my gut feeling tells me
all
that
them checks he getting, he is not gonna.
He not bumping
like I think about that tag match he had at what was that? Super Showdown, was that in Australia? Didn't he tag with Bobby Lashley? Something along those lines.
I do not remember that.
I can't remember that at all. I'm like, what?
Super Showdown 2018. Come on, I'm right here, right? I think it was against Elias and Kevin Owens, wasn't it? Let me see.
Mystery.
Super Showdown, John Cena and Bobby Lashley versus Elias and Kevin Owens. Okay. And so
that at all.
And I mean, look,
but Cena barely worked that match. Bobby Lashley worked the majority of it.
Right.
Kevin Owens and Elias bumped their asses off, and Cena hot tags 5 moves of doom, and that's what he gave.
Drive
us
home
here.
safely, everybody. That's what it is. Man, and so that's why I'm like, I agree that there were good matches on this show, but there was a lot of nothing burger on this show as well, buddy. There was a lot of build to nothing, and there was interesting build because I mean Roman coming out and scowling at Sammy and then just going, "Hey, it's our guy," and like all the facial expressions he's doing is great. Sammy coming out with the man bun like Roman and being dressed up, all of that stuff is interesting, but I just kind of feel like it's only far you can go with continuing to build tension, and then the tension doesn't lead to anything. Like you got to give us some kind of payoff.
This one felt like a waste.
It did, and it just felt like, all right, well, we got to do something for the Chicago crowd. We're going to bring Roman in, but essentially, like I said, it didn't lead to anything. And if I had showed up to this show, I probably would have been disappointed because I would have been like, all right, well, hey, we got a good match, we got this, but if I showed up expecting a development out of the Bloodline stuff, you really didn't get anything.
And was there anything else on the tape show, Will, with the Bloodline?
Yeah, you got.
I mean, yeah, because the Hit Row match with and I know
with
Roman
Usos,
cuts.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And Roman cuts a promo because this is the go home show to the Cena stuff.
Right.
So like I know Roman's also on that show.
Gotcha.
So
I'm not down on Bray, but I am very much feeling like you guys have got to get to some kind of payoff. I'm not saying that it needs to get us to the ultimate payoff, but you got to give us something at this point. Giving us breadcrumbs every week and then going, hey, look, isn't this interesting? Hey, look how many different characters we're building. Like, it's not enough, man. You got to do something.
Though, as far as Bray is concerned, it's gonna go one of 2 ways. Is the thing. I don't see a middle ground here. When we finally get whatever the big Bray match is going to be at Royal Rumble, and it ends up being kind of a big Bray Wyatt spectacle. What was the name they trademarked?
Blackout match or something?
Yeah, the blackout
like
match.
Yeah.
I can see half the people thinking that this is cinema. We'll see that. And I think I can see a whole lot of people, probably not as many, but a lot of people, I'd probably be one of them, who are like, this is shit. And
there are 3 words on my list when I scroll down Twitter of we need to retire these words: mid, generational, and cinema. Yeah, knock it off, guys. Knock it the fuck off, man.
Throw 'em out.
Y'all are running this shit into the ground, man.
Mid is so dead.
Yes. Damn. I mean, let's see what the chat thought. Graham B says this feels like Funhouse Cena. He's Uncle Howdy. Coffee with Colin says, "Hey y'all, do you think the Fiend Bray was lightning in a bottle that WWE is trying to clone at this point, or should the viewers just let it play out? My worry is another WrestleMania 33 bad. I mean, I still don't believe that the Fiend did much more than a good entrance. Like I liked."
Yeah, you wilding on that one.
No, there was nothing I liked from the Fiend beyond like I remember when he had that first entrance against Finn Balor, and I was like, yeah, I could get into this. And then he like snapped Finn Balor's neck, and it wasn't the finish of a match. And I thought, oh no, we're in cartoon period, and it wasn't for me. Again, I don't mind character work or storytelling, but some things are a bridge too far for me, and for whatever reason, it always seems to involve Bray Wyatt. Ferthausen says, thanks for the Willow interview. I love her in-ring work, and her positivity is infectious. She's been my rainbow in the dark. We need more Willows in the world. We love having Willow, and I talked to her yesterday, just giving her a big thanks for doing the interview, and she just always stays kind and positive. And she was like, no, thank you guys for having me. I actually enjoyed talking to you guys.
So
cool. It was like,
it's a great interview.
Yeah, just a kind person, just really kind. Peyton Carter says, Uncle Howdy looks like old Greg, and that takes me out of this whole feud. I like wrestling on my wrestling show, and this crap takes me away from that. Again, it's gonna... Words of Willie says, I called it Spooky Dookie a few weeks ago. Still is.
It is some Spooky Dookie.
It's definitely spooky.
Yeah, Ryan Bitt says, as I said on Twitter, it's Millhouse and the Fireworks Factory. Like, when are we gonna get to something?
It definitely is that. There's a lot of Poochie vibes here.
I mean, look, the thing is, I can say straight up, I will never deny what Bray has brought to the table. I feel like Bray,
he's over, man.
He's over. That return still probably one of the best returns this year. Speaking of which, return/debut of the year is up for vote. If you haven't voted in the Fightful Awards, which is happening in January, hosted by your boy and Sean Ross Sapp and Denise Salcedo. And the voting is still going for return of the year /debut of the year. We combined them into one category because it was like there's just so many. And we want your votes. Get those votes in because and the thing is, the categories that we're getting thousands of votes in these categories, so I appreciate that. Right now we have best promo, and not specific promo that happened, but who cuts the best promo, who has been the best promo. Because the nominees for that category have been CM Punk, Kevin Owens, Ricky Starks, LA Knight, Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, Stokely Hathaway, MJF. Who's been the best promo this year?
Max.
Probably.
Max.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where if I check the results right now, and I'm not going to reveal them because we're going to save that review. I'm not going to reveal them. Not going to reveal them, but I'll just say that if you haven't gotten your vote in yet, probably won't make a difference in this category.
Probably not.
It's been Max's award already. You know what time it is. Come on.
But
sometimes you just have to fake it. Like when Cody Rhodes was going to be number one in the PWI, where he thought he was going to be number one in the PWI 500, and he like got a banner made and he was going to celebrate it. And I was like, we should have made him number one because he would have rolled that out for a whole year. Like for the whole year, he would have been like, you would have seen that banner. He would have talked about it on TV all the time. He would have interviewed on it. Mox was like, thanks. And then we never heard about it again.
I mean, what I will say is, as far as the voting is concerned, and Sean tweeted this yesterday, right now it is very much looking like it's very balanced. It's not like everything's leaning toward one company. I feel like there's a good mix of WWE's got a lot of best, AEW's got a lot of best. We've also done some indie awards and things along those lines. So definitely get those votes in. I'm really excited about the show. I love doing year-end recaps and year-end award shows. So this being Fightful's first, happy to be a part of that.
Let me get in 3 plugs before I forget.
We're not done with the show.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to forget in my brain. I just want to get them in real quick. If you haven't last night I saw the craziest 6-man match that I've seen in a long time. GCW, America's Most Wanted. It was insane. Commander did some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life in this match. He was flipping, he was spinning, he was flipping and spinning. Also, by King,
I saw that rope walk he did.
Bro,
what was that?
blowing my mind. I was standing up in my room like cheering like a little kid watching this guy do his thing. Also, Vikingo and Laredo Kid had a 5-star match in Mexico. Shit was crazy. They were doing all kind of flips and spins too. Vikingo was hurt, but he was still cooking. And then on the hip hop front, the Absol album is incredible. It's amazing. One of the best albums of the year. He does a lot of reflecting. He talks about a lot of very personal things. Absol tried to jump off of a bridge before his album was completed. He talked about it on Charlemagne's thing. Like, he's like, I jumped off a bridge and I landed on a car and I almost died, but I did it. So like, it's very personal album. Everybody's putting out personal albums this year. It's like along the lines of what Kendrick Lamar did, but in a different vein. So if you want to hear some crazy personal shit, listen to the Absol album. It's great.
That is
I
true
can't
when you
believe
think about it.
Kendrick put out an album this year. That feels like an eternity ago.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, I don't listen to it.
But I heard it that day, and I haven't heard it.
But you're absolutely right. A lot of people are putting out personal albums this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Denzel Curry album is very personal as well. It's a very emotional album. But yeah, I haven't listened to the Absol because there's so much music right now.
It's crazy.
Boldy is
New Boldy
continuing to put out 4 albums a year for some reason.
Even after Big E was tweeting about it, like he's on a run, and then he puts out another one after that too. I'm like, Boldy ain't fucking around with y'all.
He's going crazy. He's got like a Jay Dilla album in the works. He's got like doesn't he have like a Static Select album?
Yeah, him and Static Selecta did one of those. Like Static Selecta does this thing where he does a 24-hour recording session. He's done a bunch with Bun B. He record for like 24 hours, and that's a project. And Boldy don't stop. I'm sure he does like 1,000 raps a day. So this is crazy. That's gonna be dope. Boldy James is killing it. One of the rappers of the year. And are we committing to this little music recap that we were talking about?
I want to, for sure.
Yeah, I think that'll be dope.
Let's see. So sorry, I just saw Raj tweeted the same thing. He said the Uncle Howdy stuff not for me, and I could already see he's got 44 replies to that.
Good luck with that, Raj.
No, I'll keep mine.
Good luck with that.
I was on the phone with somebody about something I wanted to tweet, and I told them no, and they were like, do it. And I was like, nah, you're not going to get me, buddy.
You don't want that smoke.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the smoke. It's just I wasn't in the mood because people are annoying. But
announced during this show that we missed. I'm just going to bring the graphic up right now.
Let's see it.
Are you ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, ready for this.
Thanks to the chat for bringing this to my attention. But about to see some fire here. Ready for it?
Well, that was already announced.
Yeah, this is already announced.
It's announced that it's going to be a title match now. But
it's a title match now. It's a title match.
See.
It is officially for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship.
That's going to bang. That's going to go crazy.
That's crazy.
That's a big deal.
That's a really big deal. Yuya Mashida getting a title shot now against Athena. Athena taking the belt around, kind of giving herself a little bit of a Jonathan Gresham run.
Yes.
Essentially is what that kind of sounds like.
So, yeah, Gresh is officially.
Yes, nice transition.
We talked about that last week.
Signed. Yeah, but he's officially signed. He said it on TV.
Gave him the graphic and everything.
I was talking off the spoilers because that was like in the spoilers. Oh,
I see. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so, now we know for sure that he is signed. And I was surprised during the scrum for Final Battle that no one asked what was his status, because that would have been the question I would have been the first to ask. Like, what's the deal with him? Is he still signed?
But we know he's not now.
We know now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but still, I think there's still some missing information in between his exit from there. If said Octopus is looking for anywhere to give those answers,
he is absolutely not trying to talk to anybody. But I'm very happy that Jonathan Gresham, because I know there was a little bit of talk that he might retire after the AEW shit. Glad that's out the window. Very happy to see him in Impact. He's going to do a lot of dope things. I know I'd be talking shit about Impact, but mostly jokes. Impact is an incredible wrestling show all the time. They have great they have one of the best women's divisions. They're world champions crazy. Speedball Mike Bailey's there. They do a lot of great things. They just don't have any money.
All right, time to talk about stuff that's not for me, though. Again, I agree with everything you said there, except for There's a segment on Impact this week between Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer.
I forgot about that.
That
Cinema.
Impact themselves Impact themselves described as emotional. And I watched it and I just went, this shit is not for me. And like they're like, look at Bully's heel work. And I'm like, he's just saying mean things to somebody. And they're like, and look at the emotion that Tommy Dreamer did. He drew upon, some of his family drama. Like okay, look, I like Tommy Dreamer. I actually do. Somebody pointed out to me that he has been on a nostalgia run.
This is the longest nostalgia run.
For like 5 times longer than his actual career.
Seriously.
The main run of ECW was. And he's been on an ECW nostalgia run since. Which in itself is kind of wacky. But thinking about this segment, this was not for me whatsoever. I'm this is one of those where you see the graphic of somebody slowly morphing into somebody. I'm slowly morphing into Righteous Reg here, just yelling at my screen, "Do a flip!" I don't want to see this shit. Yeah, I did not want to see this. This segment was
1998 ECW shit, dude, and I love 1998 ECW. I can't.
Yeah, this segment wasn't for me either. And I think it's just because you got two things, kind of being the main elephant in the room. I don't want to see Bully Ray wrestle. I'm sorry.
0%.
Right.
I don't want to see this man wrestle.
Don't want to, especially not for the world title.
And B, it's kind of hard for me to feel the emotion of this Dreamer segment when he's never quite properly apologized for the stuff with the Ric Flair thing. It just kind of was like they just moved on and put him back on TV. And then he's in this TV is like, oh, remember my greater days and how I have all this mental health. And now you're trying to make this guy into the victim for Bully Ray to dump on. And it just didn't work for me. I just didn't really care.
Yeah,
and he produced some real tears. And look, it was a well executed segment, but I just didn't care.
I didn't even think it was well executed. This to me felt like local small town theater. It was a little bit masturbatory to me, where it's like, oh no, we're really good at this emotional stuff, guys.
It was kind of.
Yeah, I was not a fan.
It was a little, ham-fisted.
Yes.
Yeah. They all can't be hitters, is what I'm saying. The whole show can.
Right, but I do feel from a wrestling standpoint, this is a show that has some stuff to offer. I actually do record Impact on my DVR. I get Access, and I think Access got the funniest commercials, by the way.
Definitely. That's why I usually watch it.
Yeah, it's what I mean by that is that
bring back Melissa.
what I mean by the funniest commercials too is that nobody's paying to advertise on Access, nobody of value. So you're getting the lowest of low end products that probably paid $20 for their ads, and it's really interesting to watch. It is a stark difference from what you see on TBS or what you see on USA Network or what you see on Fox. Fox, you're going to get, progressive commercials. You're going to get all that stuff.
Pizzas.
Pizzas especially. USA Network, you usually get high-end movies, things along those lines. TBS, you get movie commercials, cars. You also get... I can't believe JG Wentworth is still around, but my God, I cannot watch Dynamite without
still getting their shit up.
I have a structured settlement and I need cash now.
Same commercial and everything.
One night,
8 seconds of a touchdown. So silly.
To this day. But you don't get none of that on Access. You're getting are you willing to try this experimental pill for nail growth?
Nah.
I'm not.
No. But it is a lot of other good stuff on Impact. You said, the knockout stuff is great. I think the
story that they're telling with Mickey is dope.
Yeah, the Mickey and Jordan stuff is great. I think what they're doing is Trey is good. And even just Gresham being there and the possibility of us getting, Gresham versus Alexander is going to be great.
And they finally did something right with those damn tag titles, putting them on the fucking Motor City Machine Guns like you should have fucking months ago. I don't know why Heath and fucking Rhino were the champions when you got the Motor City Machine Guns here. Make them the champs. They're the best. What are you doing?
Champs.
Finally, yeah.
So I mean, there are good things about the. I just don't really care about any of this bully ray stuff. But I've said that from day one, so I don't think anybody should be surprised by that.
Right.
Well, final main topic to talk about is from this past week's Dynamite, where hot crowd in Garland, Texas. I think probably one of the hottest crowds they've had all year.
Hot. Yeah.
I will say that those first off, Tony paying for Round Ball Rock, NBA on NBC theme.
Great.
That was great shit, and I've seen some people going, well, what's the point? Who gives a shit? I don't give a fuck. What the point is, hey, Reg, do you have your phone nearby?
I do.
Call my phone really quick. I'm only going to play it for 2 seconds to make sure that we don't get copyright struck for anything. But I will say that it has literally been one of the most important songs of my lifetime. That has been my ringtone. Since my phone could have a ringtone. That has... that era, I feel like that's got to be like one of the national anthems of Chicago. Just thinking about how much that song.
Oh, Jordan!
mattered.
Jordan immediately pops into my head when I hear that song. Like that's the first thing
because
I think of
you think about all of his championships occurred during the NBA on NBC era. Because it was 1990 to 2002 that they had that song, and so every ring Jordan got was during that era.
Right.
And
the current, by the way, MVP trophy, Michael Jordan. Sorry, Bron fans, knock off this GOAT talk. It's official now. That guy is the GOAT.
Is that what makes it official?
Who's the first recipient of that trophy?
We don't know yet. Probably gonna be Luka. Or
no, they retroactively gave Nikola Jokic one for last year.
Oh,
he gets the first one. Yeah. So
yeah, but that conversation's over with. It's the guy. He's the
I
standard.
don't know if it's over with, Phil.
It is. He's the standard. It's done. It's over.
But yeah. So granted, of course, Jokic and the Nuggets lost to the Lakers, national TV last night.
Yeesh.
Let those guys go on a fucking 29-7 run in the fourth quarter. That was just disgusting.
Yikes.
These guys losing to the Knicks two games in a row. Don't even want to talk about it. Ugh. New York Knicks.
The worst part.
Shout out to that ovation for Derrick Rose, though. That was dope.
Yeah.
I will say that the Nuggets losing last night to the actually I need to turn my ringer off again. But the Nuggets losing last night to the Lakers after AD went out, and like when AD went out, I'm like, damn, I don't wish injury on anybody. But hey, at least I can count on a win here.
Nope.
And then they turn around and kick their asses.
They rallied.
Yeah, they rallied once AD went out the game. And also, honestly, Westbrook had a great game last night.
I've been saying this for a few weeks. Apologize.
Please
I think he had a triple-double last night, didn't he?
Yeah. Apologize to Russ because y'all
said I'm gonna show y'all. Talking hella crazy.
Anyway, though, so NBA on NBC, like just hearing it behind the graphic, like I actually got like nostalgia chill bumps when they brought up the graphic for the 6-man tag coming up, and it's doing a da 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 da, and I'm like, God, that reminds me of when the bumpers would hit during the NBC era. And then all of a sudden, the graphic goes away and Carry On My Wayward Son plays. Massive pop from that crowd.
Big pop.
That told me immediately, I'm like, I know what this crowd's about to be. I know that this crowd is about to be they're going to give it to them tonight and remind people why. Bryan Danielson once said one of the reasons he jumped to AEW was the crowd reactions. He's like, look, these are the best fans in the world. They give it to me when I'm in the ring. This is how it goes. And this crowd was hot for everything. So hot, in fact, that they made a moment for somebody. Chris Jericho, earlier in the night, had talked. We talked about the stuff with Daniel Garcia, but he noted that he was, Daniel Garcia needs to now shadow his elder, Sammy Guevara, and he's like, meanwhile, I'm going to go take out my frustrations on this jobber. Jericho is in the ring. Action Andretti is introduced. Not only was Action Andretti introduced, they get the graphic wrong. They bring up Chris Jericho's Chiron at the bottom. And
it almost worked even better that way, too.
Yes.
Right?
Crowd chants, "Let's go, jobber." And let me tell you, this probably would have been a moment anyway, regardless of how the crowd was. But I think the crowd made it 10 times better.
They did.
Yeah, I agree.
They did.
I think that them being behind him from the beginning, and I feel like from the beginning they were kind of behind him in a sarcastic way of like, wouldn't it be funny if we cheered for this jobber and we chanted "Let's go, jobber" and all of this stuff, really just to get under Chris Jericho's skin, and that'll really make this funny. But then as the match went on and he kicked out of the code breaker, that's when I think it changed from like a funny, we're behind this guy, to, I think he could actually win. I think we kind of want to see that. And when they came back from commercial break, off the charts, they were behind him. This is the 5th time AEW's hit Garland, by the way. But I think this was the hottest that they... This was the
hot.
most. Yeah, this was the most Garland. We've been in that building. Yeah, the three of us. That was... We got to attend a show together, the three of us. We saw Supercard of Honor in that building. And it's an interesting building. It's not like anything unique about it, but I think what's interesting about it is, you look at it and it doesn't necessarily feel even like an arena per se, because like that's one that they use for like high school graduations and shit. It doesn't necessarily feel like a building, like a sport building necessarily, but AEW's run it now 5 times and it has become one of their home buildings. But God, that crowd there was just all about it. And I feel like when Andretti hit, like he even kind of didn't necessarily get all of that DDT. Chris Jericho kind of had to recover a little bit when he hit the DDT before hitting the running 450. But then 1, 2, 3, and he fucking wins. Crowd pops huge. They gave it a 1, 2, and you could almost see them anticipating like a kick out. And when there wasn't a kick out, they give a, oh my God, kind of thing.
It was also good because no one ever wins with the running shooting star press. Like that's so rare. You see that all the time in wrestling shows, and no one ever really loses to it. So for it to be that was very important too, I think.
Yeah, I think that.
I do have a question though, because I've seen a lot of
question.
I've seen a lot of people saying, why wasn't this opportunity given to someone else with the contract already? Like, I don't know, somebody smaller and somebody that's already on the roster that needs this push, and they just kind of gave it to an unknown. It totally worked, but could it have went to someone else who is on the roster that could have used this win,
like somebody on the
Chris
rise?
Jericho,
Well,
maybe
the story is that Jericho handpicked him, and so he had already known he was going to put him over, and it just helped that he got signed anyway. So
totally.
I think it just worked out in the long run.
Right.
I think it was a great moment. I think all of the stuff at the beginning was great. I think it was an excellent opener. And we're now in full sport fandom mode of them being down 3-1. They're doing all of the sports gimmicks going into this. Nick going out of the match and having the triumphant Paul Pierce return.
If they would have brought him back in a wheelchair, it would have really made the moment.
Yeah, having all of that the same, and the fact that they played up on injuries the entire time, and that's the story going into match number 5, that the leader coming in this banged up and they're down 3-1. I think it has that same feel as playoff basketball, and it doesn't feel like just throwing round ball rock on top of it. It has the same vibe, and I know people are like, oh, they always pander, but I think that's part of what makes AEW so much fun is that, you can do something online and somebody will see it and like, let's run with this. And running with this has been fun. And there's nothing wrong with fun, people. I don't know why people.
That's what we're so used to not getting that. The other company doesn't want us to, they don't want us to have shit. They don't want us to, they don't want to cater to us.
It was
They don't
Vince,
want
by
to
the way.
celebrate
But
it. I mean, it is who it is. But like, if somebody's going to cater to me, I'm going to be happy about it. You could be pissed and say we're AEW shows or something. But if they give me something I want to see, I'm going to like it when it's on my TV.
I am worried, by the way, because I told the story on Day After Dynamite, but I can tell you guys now. But last show that Corey went with me to, my wife, was Double or Nothing. And she got to have blood splattered all over her during the Anarchy in the Arena match. Mm-hmm. And they just announced that the next show that she's going to with me is going to be Falls Count Anywhere, the Elite versus Death
Same thing. Mm-hmm.
So, oops.
Yeah, and I mean, I even
Shit
like the
might happen
story
in this match.
Mm-hmm. I even like the story of the Hammer leading to the last 3 stipulation matches. That stuff is good. That's why I'm like,
I mean, again,
that
back on the topic.
Storytelling, you guys. They told the story with the matches, and it led to more matches. Storytelling.
Yeah, honestly, like that was the thing people were worried about through the Best of 7 series, saying, "Hey, it's just matches." They're just looking for people who like wrestling matches, and it's like, no, they've actually been telling a story through all 4 matches so far. Have had a story through them that has threaded from match to match, which has now led to the stipulation change for the 5th match because of the fact that there's been a story throughout, and the story in this one was Nick Jackson having his making his comeback and them using that against him to make Nick Jackson tap out. There's been a story here, and it's whether or not you like these guys is completely different. But there's
had moments where it's been a little convoluted, but there's a story here.
Yeah.
Why do you think Will Washington, really quick? Why do you think they always put John Moxley on first on Rampage?
Oh, I know why they're doing it now. It's because so they're in rebuild mode for Rampage right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is a fact, other than I think the Orange Cassidy title defense from a few weeks ago against, what was it, QT Marshall? But that was like one of the rare times where the main event was the highest rated segment. But for the most part, Rampage's highest rated segment is the opener. So the thing that you want to do is use the opener to try and hook people, to keep them around. So you use a match that people are interested in, and then and you can see it. It's always a slope. When you look at the quarter hours, it's like you start. It's always they start the highest and then dips, then can usually kind of come back or just work its way down. But I can tell why they're starting it with Mox. It's get our biggest act out first
to try to get people to stick around.
Yeah, get people to stick around.
They've been doing that for a while. They've been doing that for over a year at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say since day one. Think about how the opening match of Rampage was Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega for the title.
Right. Okay.
And then the very next episode was CM Punk's debut.
CM Punk.
Okay, this is making more sense to me now.
I think it's you use your biggest act on the show first, and then the main event has the distinction of getting to send the fans home, but it's also like we also know that this is ending at 11 o'clock Eastern, so this isn't the most important match on the show.
Right.
So there's that. But also main events have been dropping huge. Even SmackDown last week. I thought SmackDown for sure last week, the closing segment with Kurt Angle and the milk stuff was going to be the highest rated segment on the show. It wasn't. And
that's why.
But like honestly, I thought because Raw also the main event was the lowest rated thing on the show. And Dynamite this week, the lowest rated thing on the show. I think finally we can kind of dispose of the narrative that the trios stuff is turning fans off, because that wasn't the case. The lowest rated segment on Dynamite this week was actually the main event. But that's just how it happens. Wrestling shows right now. Roxanne had a boost, kinda, in that because NXT has an overrun. So the overrun actually did really well for NXT. But that's
it just seems somebody's trying to watch CSI New York right after or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch NXT, and I definitely tuned in just for the main event.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's go over some the rest of the super chats and humper chats, because I want to get to all of them. Caden says, shout out to y'all, not only amazing podcasters but amazing people. I would not be where I am today without y'all. Also 20 days till I turn 20. God, you make me feel old every single time, Caden. Because
so 19 years ago, Caden, we were grown-ups then. You know what I mean? It's crazy out here.
I hosted my first podcast almost 18 years ago, and I did them consistently. Pretty sure I'm about to. I was going to do a count, but I'm pretty sure I'm close to like my 1,000th podcast if I haven't hit it already. I think I hit it a while ago, but
that's great.
I think I was just standing in the shower and I was like, have I hit 1,000? If I did like 820 episodes of RBR, I'm probably at like 60 or 60 something of this show. Plus
that is a random shower thought.
it was like plus 40 of Day After Dynamite. Plus I'm pretty sure I did. I can't remember how many episodes of Now Playing Now we did, but like I got to count. But I'm pretty sure I've hosted over 1,000 episodes of podcasts. So holy shit. Let's see, Anime Otaku asks, Sammy Tune-Up versus Action next week? Maybe. I could see that.
Maybe.
Let's see. Andrew the Giant says, 30 minutes behind. Why wouldn't WWE freeze Sasha's deal and try and leverage AEW to allow them to use CM Punk? I know it won't happen, but why not? Because they're only interested in they're not interested in making any type of trade or anything for for CM Punk. It is if he's available and we can make some money with it. I think
but they ain't playing ball. It's not like let's do this for this. No, it's not a thing.
Why would they do that if the kind of scuttlebutt is that he might be gone? If you think that he's going to be gone and you can just sign him straight out, why would you attempt to do business?
Yeah.
There's no reason to.
Words from Wills asks an important question. Says, I'm a dad. My son is everything. If any of you are dads, that's me. How would you feel if your 10-year-old, I have an 11-year-old, son was participating in a storyline involved your death? I get it's wrestling, but it feels off. I will say I felt a little uneasy, especially on Brody's birthday, with the segment from yesterday, and because it didn't necessarily involve his death so much, because it was more about Brody, right? That Brody Jr. About specifically -1, because Preston kept it at. Brody handpicked me. Brody's a legend. He's the greatest TNT champion of all time, but he's got a little snot-nosed kid. And I don't know. I'm not easy about making a kid. Like, this only works for me if Preston ends up with egg on his face hugely.
I don't think that they would do that without some kind of payoff, but that's kind of the thing. If you're going to allow Brody Jr. to be involved in wrestling angles, this is where we're at. You gotta come with what goes with that. And Brody Jr. is not a wrestler. His dad was a wrestler, so it's always going to come back to Brody. And so that just comes with the territory if you're going to have him on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, obviously everybody's okay with this and everybody's agreed to it, but and I imagine
his mom works there.
Yeah. I imagine there's going to be a big payoff, but I don't know how I feel about it right now. Thoughts on the SZA album?
I listened to it. I listened to it with the woman. I was looking sad out of the window for an hour afterwards. It's
not looking sad out the window.
It was very. It's that. It's what you expect it to be. But no, it's a great album. SZA's a great singer. All the songs, the beats are hard. Like it's not for me. I wouldn't bump it in my car because I don't want to be crying on the freeway. But I understand people that do be playing that.
I'm gonna throw this out there because I saw Graham tweet it. Is SZA now the face of TDE? Because Kendrick is not there. Is she now the biggest star of TDE?
I think she is at this point. Yeah.
King of the North says Top Dollar presenting the Festi for the best dive.
That's nasty.
That's nasty. I don't know, man.
That Wipe Me Down one though, that one got me pretty good. Wipe Me Down one.
Let's see. We have a just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Because
somebody's gonna come on next week and be I
can't
believe that Will would do this to me.
And don't worry, I haven't gotten. I know about the Humper chats, so just trust me. I will get to those. And I'm just scrolling, making sure that I've hit every single thing that every single person has said. Of course, I've seen a lot of these already, so we got to a lot of this, which is good. But let's see. God damn it. I'm like just trying to make sure I didn't miss anything because I'm gonna feel bad if I do, and I'm trying to go back to like the very beginning of the show. So Warrior Nation says TK needs to get Joe the champ is here for one pay-per-view. I would love that. Are you
That
kidding
would
me?
be dope. Super dope.
Yeah.
That Joe promo this week.
Woo! Joe went crazy on that backstage. He had his little shirt on too. I was like, "Oh, Samoa Joe's
I don't
want to
keep belaboring this point, but I feel like we've moved on for Wardlow. I think.
Oh yeah, no, I think Joe. Well, I don't know. This is how I kind of feel.
You think he's?
I think
go
Joe
over in Colorado, Wardlow.
Yes, I think he's going to. By the way, that like popped my living room because Billy knows how rarely we get shows. So when he was like, "They said our state," yes,
yes, I love it.
You know what though? Another one of those freebie ideas, Tony Khan. You like booking legends. There is a Colorado legend out there still going. I would book him right now for this show. It would do huge. But there's a certain wrestler by the name of Too Cold Scorpio, who is from Denver, Colorado. And he's a Colorado legend.
And he still works all the fucking time.
If you could book him in anything for that show, I would get Too Cold Scorpio around. Just for like any type of like one-off type thing, even if it's just to get somebody over.
Have a match with Jericho. They have history, like something. It could be anything.
Yeah, do something though. I would like to see Too Cold Scorpio.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of Scorpios, they got to get Scorpio back on TV soon because we're going back to LA. He's healthy. Like, let's get my man back in there.
Yeah, Young Bucks are taking all that. This is theirs now. And Sasha Banks, who also is from LA.
D-Skills H-Town says, if I never hear the word slap nuts again, I would be a happy man. Not sure what is to be gained by this angle for the Acclaimed.
You didn't like Scissor Me Slap Nuts or whatever he said? That shit was hilarious.
I have to cop to this. I thought this was very funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right?
I thought it was hilarious. I laughed really hard at it.
This slap nuts or whatever he said. I was crying, bro. I thought that shit was hella funny. But I get it. It's still like, what is Jeff Jarrett? Every time he comes out, I'm like, I forget that Jeff Jarrett's here. What is he doing here? But,
nah, man. He hit that line and they cut his TNA music. I was dying, man. I'm sorry.
My world, my shit. Every time. Never gets old.
All right, Vid666 says, already campaigning for Kofi versus Booker T at WrestleMania. I mean, Booker don't seem like he wants anything to do with the New Day when they're out there. He is just like, yeah, these guys.
Got that Kofi line this week, boy.
They like brought up Big E. The other homie brought up Big E on commentary, and Booker was like, ugh. Or something like that. I'm like, yo, what is going on here?
Anime Otaku says, in EFED I was in the early 2000s, used Saliva's Ladies and Gentlemen for our TV. I mean, that's
a whole bunch of words that people might not understand. He said EFED, 2000, Saliva.
Hey, in one of my earliest podcasts, I was sponsored by an EFED. I don't even know where they were like making money to pay us for ads, but we ran ads for eWrestling.org.
That's
hilarious. And that was so.
That just remind me, I used to have a pro wrestling trivia app back in the day, and I advertised on Cole Cabana's podcast one time. Gave him $50. Takes me back.
Orion Ben says Triple H around the corner from Vince's office like Granddad and Thugnificent's video as big booty cheeks playing loud. It's booty butt cheeks. But anyway,
cheeks?
Y'all are funny.
Hunter, the ultimate Karen.
Big facts. He is snitching.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Jake Salazar said James Gunn is doing to DC what Vince did to NXT. Bum. I don't know. James Gunn has a good history though. So,
but you know, you
Vince
might
had
feel
a
that
good
way
history
if
too.
what came before it was good. Some of that DCU stuff wasn't good. Sorry.
Abdullah the Butcherhead says Layla snitched on Velvet, making room for Mandy. I mean, look, Layla did snitch on Velvet. I mean, I pointed this out last week. I said, look at the way they had Red Velvet eyeing the championship, and the way that whenever Jade Cargill was talking, the way Red was just like, okay.
She did one of these this week. I love it.
I know. So they are clearly building to Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill.
I love it.
Me too.
And honestly,
give it to us.
That is a full circle. That's a comeback on that would bring it all the way back to the start of Jade's career. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
That's actually the one I would do.
Her first match was with Red Velvet in it, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, hey, Mikey Ruckus, if you're listening, I'm actually, as soon as I saw the signs for this happening, I started working on a newer mix of In the Mix, because I'm like, look, I want this to sound arena ready, and I want this one on TV this time, because they used it on Dark those few times, and it didn't come through strong enough, so I kind of get it. But I'm like, nah, I will put together a new mix of that, and it'll sound good. Van Twinblade, who noted yesterday that he was getting a test, he did note that it was positive. So get home, feel better. Sorry, you got to miss the show tomorrow.
Some water, man. Damn it.
Talking about Vince, said somebody from the board got a list of them allegations on lock to release every time Vince tries to come back. He'll never know peace.
Kind of comes with the territory, doesn't it?
I mean, again, like I said, every single time that a story comes out.
Well, it sounds like he doesn't care if he's like, I could have weathered the storm. He's like, I'm gonna beat this case anyways. I don't give a fuck. They can put out all the stories they want.
He was acting like that from day one, showing up on TV and
right.
Strutting out there and getting his thank you Vince chance. He's been thinking he's gonna get away with this.
Mets fan for life says Red Velvet versus Jay gonna happen soon. Wait till she sees this week's playback. Yeah, that was what Reg was just talking about. Tenruza says might be going to Wrestle Kingdom. Oh shit, good for you.
Nice.
Keen asked for that and might be seeing the Noah show with Nakamura starting 2023. Right. Also, will I see you guys at Mania in LA? It's the hope. I'm gonna try.
I don't know if I will be at Mania, but I will be in LA.
I'm going to try to get to LA.
I'll be in LA. I don't WrestleMania. I'm going to be in LA, though.
Shame Monster says, add Starby's Triangle Derby to Sasha Watch. One silhouette in the mystery team looks boss-like. It's probably Mina. And the AZM Utami and Saya team, damn. Also, Papa Roach's last resort for AEW.
Papa Roach, good one, bro. Definitely.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That is a good one.
I don't think we're going to see her in Stardom anytime soon, but I think that, of course, the New Japan stuff is going to, lead to.
Well, Dave had the thing about she's going to do one big show in April or whatever they were saying. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Jake Salazar says, everybody hates on Jericho, but no top guy from Jericho's generation, even now, would ever put over a jobber debut the way Jericho did.
I don't know if any of them are in the position, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Because you can make the argument. The reason is that Jericho has never had the success some of those other guys had with WWE. So it's kind of not the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good on Jericho. Regardless.
But no, I think it's great. I think that match was great. Of course, I've said negative things here and there about Jericho, but Jericho, again, has been having a great year.
He's had a really good year, honestly. One of his best.
Joel Wood says, I love Sasha, but I do not believe WWE needs her as much as people claim. I hope Sasha does well with New Japan, but the issue is that WWE has put all the main women on Raw. They have to even them out better.
I'm never going to say that company does not need one of their biggest draws, especially when Roman is possibly going away next year. I think it's insane to act like they don't need her. And even if they don't need her, why on earth are you passing on one of the best women's wrestlers to ever wrestle for your company? It does not matter if you need her. Treat her better than the way you've treated her. That's all.
That's it.
Let's see. Aaron Busby says, oh, yeah, they need to get to the point when it comes to Bray Wyatt. Love the guy, but this rollout is lagging something serious. We talked about that. Let's see. Chi-Town Spurs says, well, what's up, guys? Another Chicago show, another great crowd. Phil, I think Chicago is such a great wrestling town because our real sports are so awful all the time. Shout out Candace Parker.
Well, I think the thing is that we're so used to being loyal to things that are not great, and sometimes wrestling treats us very poorly, and so we have a very
talked about JR shitting on y'all.
We have a very poor relationship with sports in a lot of ways, and so I think because of that we're very loyal to things, and I think it's a very loyal wrestling town. It's a very loyal baseball crowd with the Cubs and other things, but it's just a loyal sports town.
I pointed out though that AEW, a company that's only run 3 years worth of shows, and one of those years was spent in a pandemic, has somehow hit Chicago 14 times. And like the second most shows they've run was in Garland, Texas, which is 5, and then beyond that, it's Chicago with 14
times.
14 times, and that's not like an exaggeration. That's not me like picking like, oh, we'll split Dynamite Rampage. No, I mean they have. So doing this off the top of my head, but I believe they've had 2 standalone Rampage. So I'm splitting Chicago, of course. We're talking Hoffman Estates and Chicago. They've done Hoffman Estates 8 times. Of those 8 times, they've done 2 standalone Rampages, 3 All Outs, and 3 Dynamites. And then they've done 4 Dynamite / Rampages at 3 Dynamite / Rampages at Wintrust Arena, and then they had Revolution, and then they've had Forbidden Door at United Center, and they did First Dance at United Center. That is 14 shows total. Holy shit! What the fuck? Chicago has that. I thought it was an exaggeration when it was like AEW hit Chicago a lot. No, that 14. Like literally, if you just even if you split Hoffman Estates and Chicago and proper Chicago as 2 different places, that's still 8 shows in Hoffman Estates and 6 in Chicago proper. And I didn't even have to count All In that. I'm strictly talking Tony Khan run AEW.
Yeah, we've been. I saw somebody in our chat say that, man, what are you talking about? You guys had Jordan. Why do people always bring that up? Like that means that we didn't struggle as sports fans. Do you know how long it's been since Jordan played here? That was 98. It's been 24 years of Jordanless basketball. And let me tell you, it's been a lot of painful years of watching the Chicago Bulls in those 24 years. And I don't know if you remember what that team was before he got here. It sucked.
On the topic of mashups, Joel Wood said, I think the mashup with Riddle and Orton is probably the best one I've heard in WWE. That was a good one. Actually, I forgot about that one. Jake Salazar said, remember when they did Curtis Axel and Ryback? Yes.
Shameful.
CBD's Nuts say, easily the best mashup I've heard was Starks and Hobbs. That was a good one, too. And let's see. Busby said, what's up, fellas? Just want to say that the Wall Street Journal article, along with the Vice doc on Vince McMahon, was a warning shot to Vinnie Mac to stay away, or else Bryant Gumbel is going to come and crush the building.
Like Snoop in the New York video. I see it.
Yep.
That Vice doc was a waste of time.
I mean, if you've seen all the stuff already.
Yeah, if you've seen any Dark Side of the Ring, that was a waste of time. And even beyond that, if you know anything, like I could have narrated that whole story. If they were like, tell Vince McMahon's story, I could have did all that because there wasn't one new bit of information.
Vince McMahon doc narrated by Righteous Reg. Sounds hilarious.
D-Lo Dig says, what is up? Hold on. That documentary has to start with it just Reg staring into the screen and said, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, you done did it again.
You done done it, and you done it the worst this time.
And it has to end with and that is all. And I still want my $35 back.
I still want my $35. I still haven't got my $35 back.
The D-Lo Dick says, what is up, fellas? Getting this quick lift in before this early. What do y'all think is the best video game soundtrack of all time? Also, best video game commercial for me is the first Def Jam Vendetta. Best video game soundtrack. Are we talking licensed music or are we talking original music? Because 2 different answers. Licensed music to me goes to Grand Theft Auto 3. I think that before GTA had the ability to license a lot of the mainstream music, they went with a lot of underground music, and that exposed me to a lot. I had never heard Royce the 5'9" before Grand Theft Auto 3, and he had multiple songs on that soundtrack. That was that whole Game FM station was just fantastic. So that to me is as far as licensed music. When we're talking original music, Mortal Kombat 2. I think they literally just remastered that whole soundtrack and put it on like streaming services and stuff, and it holds up. I think it's still some of the best video game music ever produced. But also Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 is the real answer.
Yeah, if it's original music, I'm going with Sonic 2 because it's one of the best video games of all
Sonic
time.
2
Sonic 2 soundtrack is so good.
Sonic 2 is really good.
It's probably Sonic 2 for me. And I mean, other than that, probably the first Kingdom Hearts because that soundtrack is amazing. I think an underrated video game commercial, by the way, is the commercial for Spider-Man: Web of Shadows with Moonlight Sonata playing, and he's like walking across the top of that building, and all this stuff is happening around him. Everything's exploding, and all the villains in the game are like surrounding him. It's a great commercial.
I don't remember that at all. Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. Oh, Web of Shadows. I'm like, okay. I was thinking of the wrong game. Web of Shadows, that was '08. Okay, I don't remember that commercial at all. Okay. Reg, pick a soundtrack.
Definitely, I'm gonna agree with that GTA 3 because that soundtrack was like. Sometimes I just put the game on just to hear the songs playing.
I know, right?
It had a lot of
Stretch
really dope
Armstrong is now in your world.
Yeah, man. That shit banged. Definitely.
Yeah, so I did too. I used to throw that game on just to hear the soundtrack. I would literally just jump in a car and just drive around the city playing Game FM because I wanted to hear those songs. Yep. And we gonna give this all
I was thinking
that
about.
We got. Yeah,
Just
no.
keep rising to the top.
Rest in peace, Sean Price. But yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah,
it, man.
That was great.
They don't make them like they used to, Rozelle.
Let's see. Tony P sent the last one. Tony P says, "Good week for light-skinned folk from AEW." Oh,
Wow.
Also, I said it Wednesday.
That got me good for some reason.
Also, I said it Wednesday with Sean. I feel they canceled the Bobby is fired angle because they knew what they were about to do to Mandy and didn't want the smoke they were getting. I didn't consider that.
I didn't consider that.
Vince got on the phone. Was like, "You're firing who?
I don't even want fake firing of Lashley."
Yeah. So Lashley was fired in the main event. And Maz Fan 84 asks, any fit in wrestling better than Sheeta in a suit?
She looks great. She just looks so cool right now. I really want her to have a second reign as champion at some point. Not now because of course I don't want to just move on from Jamie now, but she's just so cool.
Yes. And then any thoughts on Swerve and his affiliates? I thought the promo was cool.
I mean, I think it's clearly a tease for his stable that he's putting together that people are not paying attention to. I saw a lot of people that are like, "Oh, it's cool that you guys got a shout out." I'm like, "We're not affiliates, guys."
No, I saw people who were like, when he said, "I ain't got no family in this business," and people were like, "Damn, Will, that's..." I'm like, I am not in the business. I am not a pro wrestler. What are you talking about?
Right.
So, anyway.
It's gonna be cool.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be some cool stuff. Anyway, folks, that's been it for this really long edition of Grapsody. But thanks for sticking with us. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for all the support. Thank you. Look, all year it's been great. And next week we got Christmas Eve. Week after that we got New Year's Eve. A lot to still get through this year. If you haven't voted in your in the Fightful Awards, please do.
So we are broadcasting on Christmas Eve next week?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's early. We'll still have the rest of the day. But yes, join us next week, week after. We also got Ask Grapsody coming up this Thursday. Send us your questions. It's going to be a lot to go on, folks. I'm Will Washington. I guess I am Triceratops. Otherwise, I've been like fiddling with this thing the whole show, by the way. But we will see you next time and have a great day. Peace.